subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Thing is that in 23 points, the three little guys in the first grade scored 12. Sawamura himself scored 5 points, Kaminato Haruchi 4 points, and Furuya 3 points. A little more than half of the total score. All three have potential as cleanup. Sidhu's rest area. Coach Okiai shook his head with emotion. I don't know if Sidhu's first year was so good, or this year's first year is particularly eye-catching. After hearing Okiai's words, Kataoka didn't know what to say. Don't talk nonsense. Okay, where can Sidhu get such 3 first graders regularly? If Sidhu got such a good harvest every year, it is impossible for Sidhu to fail to enter Koshien for 5 consecutive years. Not to mention 3. One such player is enough to make Kataoka wake up laughing from his dreams. Because of the joining of Sawamura and Chris, Sidhu's attack power is more brutal than that of Sawamura's previous life. In Sidhu's rest area, Miyuki Kanzuya also said sourly, "This is plain bullying." He felt a little sympathetic to the Meiman High School players. In the second half of the 5th inning, Meiman High School attacked. Strike, batter out. Game set. Under the lead of Chris, Furuya scored the last outs, and he had 11 strikeouts in the game. One got lucky and got a safe hit. The game is over with the mercy rule after 5 innings. Sidhu High School defeated Meiman High School, their opponent in the first battle, with a huge score of 0-23 at the same time. Takashima Rei brought a few people here to scout the match at Sanka High School. The Sanka High School investigates the competition of Sidhu, and Sidhu will naturally not let the Sanka High School go. In this game, the ace of the Sanka High School is playing, and the opponent is completely suppressed. No hits, no runs. A perfect game. Well, with the rich and powerful background of the Sanka High School, their opponents in the first battle have no ability to fight back. In addition to the outstanding performance of Ace Monica, the most interesting thing is the lineup of Sanka High School. In the 3rd inning, the Sanka High School scored 11 points. The powerful attack power makes people tremble. Sidhu entered the finals of the spring tournament and won the championship in the subsequent Kanto tournament. In the summer game, and became the top-seeded team. Sanka lost to Sidhu in the spring finals. Although they're also seeded, their seeded ranking is lower than Sidhu. Correspondingly, their opponents are also more difficult than Sidhu's opponents. So not because Sidhu scored 13 points in the first 3 innings and Sanka High School only scored 11 points, means that Sanka High's attack power is not as good as Sidhu's. Takashima Rei crossed her arms and listened to the nonsense of the surrounding audience. Sanku is really strong. That slider is really good. The match between Sidhu and the Sanku is in the quarterfinals. Who knows which team will win when the time comes? Last fall, Sidhu lost to Sanku. This spring, Sidhu won, so it is 50-50. Sidhu has the upper hand. After all, Sidhu has a real ace this year, and their defense has been greatly enhanced. In contrast, there are no particularly eye-catching newcomers in Sanku. That newcomer is not talking about the Demon King Sawamura. Is he really going to Sidhu? Of course it's true. Haven't you watched the Kanto tournament? No, it was just before school started. Listening to such a conversation, Takashima felt much more refreshed. Yes, the Sanka High School is indeed very strong. But in the competition between the two sides, the final winner must be Sidhu. The current Sidhu is not the same as the Sidhu who played against the Sanka High School at the beginning. We have a real ace. Moreover, what makes Takashima very happy is that she dug up that ace with her own hands. Only a scout can feel this feeling. 210. Chapter 10. Soft spot according to the rules of the competition. After 5 innings are over and the score difference reaches 10 points, or 7 innings are over and the score difference is 7 points, it can be regarded as a completed game. At the end of the 5-inning match between Sidhu and Meiman, there was a full 23 points difference, so it was a called game. Among them, the terrifying strength displayed by Sidhu High School has aroused the vigilance of all potential opponents in West Tokyo. Sidhu didn't care about that. There are barely 3 weeks. In such a short time, No team can deal with their current opponents while making tactics against Seedoo. Just like Seedoo in the past month or so, they had only done targeting tactics against Senku and Inashiro. The other teams simply don't have time to do such a thing. Furuya! When Furuya scored the last strikeout, the audience was still cheering him on. Such consecutive flaming fastball strikes are so exciting. The audience couldn't help but begin to incarnate as a supporter of Furuya, shouting slogans and singing praises to him. The members of the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's Guard also watched with enthusiasm. They weren't upset that he took the limelight from Sawamura or anything. What's the big deal? Back then in middle school, their Demon King had 17 strikeouts. And the opponent was not a mashed potato team like Maimon, but the super overlord of the entire middle school softball league at that time. Comparing the current Maimon with the super overlord of the softball league back then, Maimon West High School is simply cute. The same thing, or even more powerful thing, the Demon King did it 2 years ago. Furuya's 11 strikeouts now don't seem like a big deal. Despite this, there are still many members who are excited and even envious of Furuya's pitching. Like No Way Man, 154 kilometers per hour pitching is every child's dream. 95 miles per hour. They didn't think that Sawamura's pitching was slow before, and the ball speed of the Demon King used to be very high. But compared with Furuya, it doesn't seem to be very fast. In the second round of the West Tokyo preliminaries, Seedoo High School played against Maimon High School. Winner, Seedoo High School, announced the results with the commentator. Seedoo's first battle is also over. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the opportunity. When saluting each other, Maimon's players burst into tears. 3 years of hard work is over. Of course, they will be sad. In the rest area, Coach Chiba, who was in his 50s, cried like a child. When shaking hands, Maimon's players sent their blessings to Seedoo. You guys have to win. You must go to Koshien this year. Don't lose to anyone. Good luck. Minamadera held Sawamura's hand tightly and said sincerely. His eyes were all red, and it was obvious that he had just cried a lot. Sawamura can understand the feelings of these people, although he has not experienced too many failures in this life. But in his previous life, he also followed the team's ups and downs, especially with these third-year seniors in this tournament. I will. You can go back with your head held high. Minamadera's senpai. What? Minamadera looked at Sawamura in amazement. Is he making fun of him? You lost to the team that was about to dominate the nation. There's nothing to regret, this guy. Minamadera stared blankly at Sawamura. It's too frustrating. You're saying that now, but didn't you underestimate us? Take us as a training dummy for freshmen. The catcher of Maimon said fiercely, if they are abused, they will be abused. The hateful thing is that Seedoo specially sent new students to insult them. Although they have been cleaned up badly, they still hope that in the final game, they can play against the strongest lineup of Seedoo. We look down on you. Sawamura's voice was a little annoyed. Who really looks down on who? Let me ask Miyata-senpai. Do you know the names of all our players? Maimon's catcher, Miyata, looked at Sawamura in confusion. He was curious. How did Sawamura know his name? Sawamura shook his head. Do you know who we will send as pitchers today? Do you have any tactics for our pitchers? Do you even know my pitching courses? Did you know about the fastballs of Furuya? Do you know the habits of our batters? Do you know what kind of team we are? Such things, how do I know? Miyata said hesitantly. Faced with the champion of the Kanto tournament, you really see it in your eyes. You don't even have to look for the videos of the Kanto tournament. They are available on the internet. Shouldn't you watch them too? If you watched and analyzed them, would you be taken down by Furuya's fastball and be suppressed like this? Sawamura said angrily. Maimon really works hard. It can be seen that their players have trained very hard. Players in public schools don't have as much practice time as private schools like Seedoo do. It is very rare to have such skills now. To Sawamura's surprise, Maimon High School didn't know anything about Seedoo's team. Barely anything, almost nothing. How long has it been since the battle table was posted? Could it be that Maimon only thought about dealing with their opponent in the first match and forgot that their opponent in the second match was Seedoo? Without even this awareness, why would they compete with Seedoo? This is not the era of the 1980s and 1990s when things can be achieved just by hiding cards and training hard. I don't think it was the same back then too. In this day and age, information battle is a big part of baseball. If players can't go all out and prepare, they can't face their opponents at all. For a school like Maimon, this result is natural. Miyata was speechless by Sawamura. "What about you? How much do you know about us?" Miyata said stubbornly, "I know the senior's name is Miyata, and I know the No. 10 senior's name is Minamadera. Although I can't remember the other senpai's first name, but I remember their last names, and I knew their batting habits and weaknesses before the game," Sawamura said sullenly. Maimon's players are very similar to the previous Akagi. Just talking about the will and effort. It was also because of this that Sawamura wasted his words to Miyata. "Senpai, the competition is not won by hard training alone." After Sawamura finished speaking, he was too lazy to talk nonsense with Miyata. He turned around and went back to the team and joined the players of Sidu to thank all the fans who came to cheer them on. "Well done, guys. It's definitely possible this year. Go to Koshian. We'll be back in the next game." In the team of Maimon High School, Miyata was stunned. He was taught by a Kohai like this? Minamadera looked at Sawamura's back and suddenly laughed lightly. "National Hegemin. It looks like it's really possible." After thanking the audience, Chris looked at Sawamura strangely and asked, "Did you have to do that? Why help Maimon High School?" "It's nothing. Those guys remind me of my friends a little. I just pointed out one thing. As for whether they listen or not, it depends on their management." Chiba Junichi is already 50 years old. People of this age tend to be very stubborn. "Remind you of your friends. Do you mean Akagi?" Chris nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Akagi is also a public school, and like Maimon, they all came from nowhere. Chris thought that Sawamura probably saw the former Akagi from Maimon's team. The talents are mediocre, but aggressive in the hard work, and they are really similar. It's just that there isn't a single Sawamura in Maimon. "Looks like my Kohai has a soft spot for public schools." 211, Chapter 11. We are Sidu. Monica's state has been adjusted back to its peak. His performance is very good, and his pitching rhythm is also well controlled. Of course, the most eye-catching is the lineup of the Senka High School. The explosive power in their lineup is not weaker than ours. It is noticeably stronger compared with the spring. It seems that the failure in the spring made them rise up to the challenge instead of defeating them. I even think that the Senku has done a lot of special training to deal with our team's lineup. Takashima is exchanging information from reconnaissance with Kataoka at the Sidu High School baseball stadium. There are 3 giants in West Tokyo. Before the competition, they must all have to target each other. In the past, because of the strength of Inashiro, whether it was a Senko High School or Sidu High School, the first target would be placed on Inashiro, and only then would they target each other. The first target of Inashiro this year is definitely Sidu High School. Takashima suspected Senka High School and also had Sidu as their first target. The failure in the spring should have taught the Senka High School a great lesson. At that time, Sidu High School did not have an absolute ace, and the Senka High School was overwhelmed by Sidu High School's lineup. Now Sidu High School has the absolute ace as Sawamura, as well as a new force like Furuya Satoru. It is impossible to not treat this with caution as an old rival of the Senka High School. Senka High School is not Maimon High School, and their experience against the enemy is beyond the reach of Maimon High School. The intelligence war started as early as last fall. It seems that in the battle with the Senko High School, the pitcher's performance will determine the outcome of the game. Takashima Ray finally concluded. Although the quarterfinals are about to start, there are still 2 games in the middle. But at a time like this, Sidu High School's main energy has been put into the competition with the Senka High School. With the current lineup of Sidu High School, apart from the 2 deadly rivals, Inashiro and Senka High School, the rest of the opponents, Sidu High School, don't need to care much. At least from the current Takashima and Kataoka's point of view, this is definitely the case. Okiai, who was on the sidelines, pinched his goatee and fell into deep thought. Having been at Sidu High School for 2 weeks, he has a certain understanding of the current Sidu High School strengths. In his perspective, if the Sidu High School were placed in another area, entering Koshian would be a matter of hand. But looking at Takashima and Kataoka's cautious attitude, they don't seem to have absolute confidence in the next match against Senku and Inashiro. The competition in West Tokyo is so fierce. Oki sighed. No wonder Seto High School failed to get into Koshien for so long. To be honest, this was more than Oki thought. He knew that the competition in West Tokyo was indeed fierce, but definitely not to this extent. It's just that this year's Seto High School and Inashiro Industrial High School are particularly strong. Their teams have the kind of genius aces that has been rarely seen in decades. The first game was a big win, huh? Congratulations, Principal. In the distance, the principal and dean of Seto High School are approaching. One of them was short and fat, the other tall and thin, forming a stark contrast. When he saw Kataoka and the others, the dean said with a smile, "I hope that Coach Kataoka can keep this situation and get the Koshien tickets easily." But then again, the game just ended today. As usual, shouldn't everyone rest? Why do I see the players still practicing? The principal looked puzzled at the players who continued to practice on the field. This is what the players want. Now, just taking the first step of a long journey, no player on our team will be excited for this victory. Kataoka said with an expressionless face. Oki, who has never been very good at dealing with people, was stunned. He looked at Kataoka in amazement. Even a person who didn't know how to deal with people knew how inappropriate what Kataoka said. One is the principal and the other is the dean of education. They're both Kataoka's immediate bosses. When your boss congratulates you, you should value his emotions and thank him. Even if you ignore it, it's fine. It's not. But how can you still make fun of it? None of the players will be excited by this victory. So what about the dean who just showed so much joy? Oki turned to look over. Not surprisingly, the chubby principal and the thin dean all had expressions of speechlessness on their faces. They are embarrassed. However, they weren't really angry. This is so interesting. Judging from the experience of Coach Kataoka, what he did right now was definitely not pretty. But even so, he indirectly insulted the principal and the dean, and the principal and the dean did not become unhappy with this. Is Seto really like this? Oki felt novel. The next day, several seniors from the third grade of the baseball club of Seto High School were walking in the corridor of the classroom. Come on, baseball team. You must enter Koshien this year. Yuki, both Koeis have hit home runs. You can't fall behind. You must hit home runs in the next game. Masuko, is your stomach growling again? Isashiki, let's do it. The classmates who met face to face sent their blessings one by one. Although they are not in the baseball club as classmates, they know how hardworking their baseball club players are this year. It's not easy to get where you are now. In their hearts, they are proud of these baseball players who are in the same class as themselves. You guys are going to play again tomorrow, right? We will definitely cheer you on in the summer vacation. And what they can do for the current players is to sincerely wish them luck in their hearts and cheer for them in the stands. They admire the spirit of the third-year players of Seto High School. They not only influence themselves, but also the juniors in the baseball club, and even the classmates in the same class who did not join the baseball club were also touched by their spirit. They created a mortal miracle. From a distance, Chris looked at the four people walking together. Form Yuki Tetsuya, Kaminato Ryosuke, Masuko Toru, Isashiki Jun. You are really amazing, guys. However, I won't be left behind. This kind of atmosphere only appeared in the third grade. The two main players of the second grade, Korimochi and Miyuki, were quarreling. The three in the first grade have attracted a lot of fans. Their situation is completely different from the current third-year seniors at Seto High School. This also indicates that in the future, they will take a completely different path from these seniors in the third year of Seto High School. The third grade is the era-building generation. The second grade is the legacy continuation generation. And the first grade is the brilliant generation 212. Chapter 12. Preference in less than 3 weeks. More than 100 high schools have to select the team that can represent West Tokyo in Koshien. With such a tight schedule, the timetable must be very dense. Only 2 days after the end of the first game, Seto High School was about to face the second game. Before the second game, Kataoka deliberately went to the bullpen to observe the state of several pitchers. In the bullpen, Sawamura is the best pitcher. His imagination exercises with Chris were very fulfilling. Japan's major leagues, minor leagues, present and past all-powerful batters and runners became their opponents. In infinite imagination, They defeated these opponents one by one. This ball is too sweet. If the batter is Bruce, this ball will be blown out, Chris said sternly. Sawamura raised his hand apologetically. After all, man is not a machine, and he also misses pitches, especially when training. Next opponent, Sakata. There are 2 outs on the field, and there is a runner at second base. Let's start. Chris and Sawamura continue to wander in the ocean of their imagination. Oki, who was watching, was also amazed. I've been teaching high school baseball for more than 10 years. It's the first time I've seen a player who can do the imagination practice like Sawamura while in the first grade. With him and Takigawa as the battery of Seto High School, the important matches could be completely handed over to them. This is a disguised suggestion of using this battery to deal with the Sanku. Kataoka nodded and said nothing. If there is any doubt about Chris, then there is no doubt about Sawamura's strength. He is the ace of Seto. You guys go ahead and do 10 sets of 10 to 15 balls. Kataoka said. Yes, sir. Yes, boss. Sawamura raised his hand to signal that he received the order. While Chris agreed, his heart sank. Kataoka ordered a sensible increase in the number of pitches thrown by Sawamura. This shows in the eyes of Coach Kataoka, Sawamura's status is irreplaceable. He will still send Sawamura to play when it comes to a critical situation, even if there may be an extra innings. Although Sawamura earned this trust through his own efforts little by little, however, it was the first time in Seto High School that a first-year player could gain such full trust. I hope that Sawamura will not take the same path as me because of too much pressure. Chris thought worriedly. At the same time, he also made up his mind right now. He must take good care of Sawamura and prevent him from going overboard. Chris Senpai, I'm done running. While Chris was practicing with Sawamura, a panting figure appeared in the bullpen. It is Furuya. Can Senpai catch for me now? Pure eyes stared at Chris, making Chris look a little uncomfortable. Chris did not know how he had motivated this Kohai and made him abandon Miyuki and follow his ass. You can start pitching, but it's not me who catches the ball. Chris made a pause gesture with Sawamura and then brought Furuya to a net. There's a board ahead of the net, and the center of the board is empty, the size of which is exactly the same as the strike zone. There are also horizontal bars on the board, which can be fixed to divide the strike zone into upper and lower or left and right. Your biggest problem right now is not ball speed and power, but ball control. First of all, just throw in the strike zone. 50 pitches a day. Remember to give it your all and don't give up ball speed just because of ball control. If you hit the board, the whole net will fall. Then you have to pick it up and reposition it yourself. The 50 balls do not mean that you will pitch 50 balls in total, but pitch 50 strikes, you understand? We will start the next training session when will you be able to throw 50 strikes out of 80 pitches? Of course, this is just an extra training item, and your usual practice can't be stopped. After Chris finished speaking, he went back to the bullpen to practice with Sawamura. Miyuki couldn't stand this kind of guidance. Senpai, in this way, there is no way for him to do it in a short time. Are we going to let him play? Chris didn't care. Currently, we do not need the power of Furuya, as long as he can do it before the final. Didn't you also tell him to practice the forkball? I believe that Furuya will make enough progress by that time. This will definitely surprise the people of Inashiro. Miyuki thought about it. If Furuya could really throw the ball into the strike zone, his strength would not be underestimated. Moreover, the most interesting thing is that Inashiro had seen Furuya's pitching before, and Chris and Miyuki could also guess the easiest countermeasures they could come up with. If Inashiro really does that, then what Furuya will bring them is not suffering, but rain of hell. Kataoka didn't interrupt this with a word, and let the players train freely. After watching Sawamura and Furuya, you want to see Tampa again. Tampa's fighting spirit is maintained well, and his pitching is also very powerful. Very good. Just keep throwing the ball one by one like this. Kataoka nodded and said, don't be in a rush to play. You will have more chances to play. For the time being, leave more time to Furuya and Kawakami, and let them familiarize themselves with the atmosphere of the tournament. You and Sawamura should keep your physical strength and ensure that you are in the best state of the game. And I will leave the quarterfinals to you. If you can keep your fighting spirit and focus, I will let you start in the quarterfinals. The opponent in the quarterfinals is Senku High School. Tampa raised his head, looked at Kataoka seriously, and said, "Yes." Not only the supervisors and coaches, but also the players of SETA know that their real summer competition actually starts in the quarterfinals. Only in the games after that, SETA High School needs to play every game seriously. In the competition of the seed selection system, unless a dark horse team suddenly appears, the strength gap between the seeded and the non-seed is very huge. SETA High School naturally doesn't need to care about other opponents. Of course, this is only from a strategic point of view. Otherwise, SETA High School will inevitably lose with such a mindset. After hearing Kataoka's words, Miyuki turned to look at Tampa. If he remembered correctly, Tampa Senpai and the current ace of Senko High School are acquaintances. When the two were in middle school, they were on the same team. Tampa Senpai has always been Monika's relief pitcher. Later, the two joined different schools and each became the ace of the team, but Tampa dropped from the ace to the relief again. Fate is amazing. The reason why Kataoka let Tampa Senpai be the starter in the game with Senko may be because of Tampa Senpai's complicated feelings right now. He hoped that Tampa Senpai could rely on his own strength to prove that it was not a wrong choice to join Sidu. Privately, Coach Kataoka still has some preference for Tampa Senpai. I just hope that this preference will not put pressure on Tampa Senpai. 213, Chapter 13. Way more fun the third game of the West Tokyo qualifier. SETA High School played against Public Murata East High School. In the first inning, SETA High School's starting pitcher was Furuya. In the first game before, the boys' performance was too powerful. So powerful that if Coach Kataoka did not give him more opportunities to play, he would feel ashamed of himself. As soon as the game started, Furuya was full of fire. Recently, under the guidance of Chris, he has been practicing throwing against the net, and the young man has been suffocated. With his ball speed and power, even after he returned the net back in place, he will hit it again and it will fall immediately. He had to go over and get the net up again to continue practicing. In addition, he has to pick up the ball and clean it anyway. It's a hassle. However, the effect is very good. It is known that human beings are lazy by nature, and laziness is the first driving force for human progress. Most of the current technological progress is the result of human laziness. In the process of Furuya's practice, he made rapid progress. You have to say, Chris is a really insightful and good mentor. He not only let Furuya practice ball control, but also honed Furuya's temper in the process of practicing ball control. To not go back and forth to set the net back up, and to finish the task as soon as possible, Furuya is very focused on every ball. Originally, to get 50 strikes, he had to throw 200 balls to do it. However, in just 2 days, Furuya has progressed to the point where he can throw 50 strikes with a bit over 100 balls. The accuracy has increased to almost 50%. Now, standing on a mound and throwing the ball and no longer having to worry about the net falling, Furuya was feeling as if he had been liberated. He was like a beast being unleashed, and he pitched the ball fiercely. As a team that can enter the third round of the West Tokyo competition, Murata East's overall strength is stronger than Mayman's. However, it's just that. They were helpless in the face of Furuya's fierce pitching. The coach of Murata East High School also knew that there were a lot of balls in Furuya's pitching. He even gave the order to avoid swinging at the balls that Furuya threw. However, this kind of thing is easy to say. How can they do it? Furuya's ball is like a little monster that roars loudly in people's faces, constantly affecting the batter's nerves. It's not that Murata's players are not mentally prepared, but their little preparation is far from enough. They desperately swing and struggle in vain. The players of Murata can only swing the bat again and again in vain, and this can only give Furuya more strikes. Strike, strike, strike batter out. In a series of strikes, Furuya won 3 innings. In the first 3 innings, Murata did not score. It was also in these 3 innings that Furuya seemed to have vented all his frustration. He started slowed down. However, can his stamina take going full power pitching for 3 innings? This made the players of Sidu High School very dissatisfied. Didn't I tell you before that you need to keep your stamina? Don't rush it like that in the first innings. Keep your words. This guy doesn't listen to advice at all. But if he keeps pushing like this, there's no way he can last a game, right? Criticism came one after another, and Furuya selectively closed both ears. Although there was a slight panting, the sweat on his face was like rain, and it was not stopping nevertheless. Furuya arrogantly thought he was okay. He is the man who wants to pull Sawamura down from the ace position. How could he be exhausted because of such 3 innings? It's all right, you played well. At a critical moment, a voice rescued him. You can't bite more than what you can chew. Let's take our time with our feet on the ground. This inning is the 3rd inning. The next inning will be the 4th inning. And when the final inning is played, it will become this steady and clear sound naturally belongs to Chris. Chris Senpai. Furuya felt that Chris Senpai understood him better. Unlike the others, they completely did not understand his vigorous fighting spirit and determination. Sure, Sho, do you think it's not bad that Furuya can last 3 innings now? Sawamura wondered why Chris would say such words, and asked strangely, I hope Furuya can understand what he can and can't do right now. Even if it is only 3 innings at this moment, Furuya's strength is also a threat to the Senku and Inashiro. If the game really comes to this, he will also be a good help for you in Tampa. This is for himself, and the only way for him to fight right now. In a comprehensive competition, let alone with Sawamura, Furuya has no advantage even against Tampa and Kawakami. In this case, if Furuya wants to compete, he can only show his best side. Horrifying pitching. Anyone who faces Furuya needs to get used to it before he can hit him. In this way, in the short-term restraining power, Furuya is second only to Sawamura in Seedou. If he can take advantage of this, Furuya Satoru can become an important fighting force in the current Seedou High School. After hearing this, Sawamura nodded. At a time like this, he also had to sigh. Chris Shisho is Chris Shisho. As a catcher, Chris may not be much better than Miyuki. The two of them are close in the comprehensive evaluation of being a catcher. However, Chris is much better than Miyuki when it comes to being a leader or mentor. Miyuki likes baseball because of his love for baseball and his love for the catcher position. Chris likes baseball in addition to his own love for the catcher position in baseball, which is no less than Miyuki's. He is also affected by his own upbringing. Chris' father was a former professional player. In such a living atmosphere, baseball has become an important part of Chris's life. His understanding of baseball is definitely not below the current supervision of Seedou and Kataoka. With his guidance, Furuya's strength will definitely improve by much, much more. Sawamura shook his shoulders with a somewhat interested smile on his face. Bring it on. In this life, he will become the ace of Seedou High School. He will use his own strength to lead Seedou High School to the top. He has to rely on himself and his friends to work together to create their own Seedou era. In this process, he is not afraid of any challenges, including the battle for the ace number after the rise of Furuya. Or in his bones, Sawamura also has a little bit of warrior genes. He loves a challenge. If Furuya is really under the guidance of Chris, his strength will improve by a lot. He will only get more fun. And this can also help Furuya avoid his tragic fate. 214, Chapter 14. The clockwork in the first 3 innings of the match between Seedou High School and Murata East High School. Murata East players lost hope in front of the terrifying pitch of Furuya. This is not what they signed up for. They can face humans, not the monster-like pitching of Furuya. People who like to read martial arts novels must have read such a sentence. In the world of martial arts, only speed is invincible. The same applies to baseball. In theory, if your pitching speed reaches 200 kilometers per hour, 125 miles per hour, you are absolutely the best pitcher in the world and maybe history. You have no need for ball power or break, just a straight ball. Of course, ball control is still required. No batter's swing can keep up with that pace. Even if they are lucky enough to touch the ball, it is impossible to hit such a ball forward. This is the magic of ball speed. In the world of ball speed, every 5 kilometers per hour, 3 miles per hour, represents a completely different level. In a previous life, Sawamura reached a very high level in the breaking balls. However, the first thing he honed after returning to his childhood was still ball speed. Sawamura's goals are not high, as long as his ball speed is 10 kilometers per hour faster than in his previous life. then he is absolutely sure to become a legend. It's just a pity that when his ball speed was honed to close to 140 kilometers per hour in this life, he encountered the legendary bottleneck again. The speed of the ball below 144 kilometers per hour can theoretically be improved by the player's own training. Above that, it is not a realm that can be achieved by hard work, just like the ball speed of Furuya, Hangu, and Urumiya. In terms of hard work and experience, how can they be compared with Sawamura? Nevertheless, their ball speed is faster than Sawamura's. It's a natural talent. Of course, it doesn't all come down to talent. In addition to talent, they themselves need to work hard enough. If they don't work hard enough when they are young, they will lose their advantage. Anyway, back to the game. Murata's weak attack does not mean that the score on the field has not changed. Seto High School's attack is as fierce as ever. In the first inning, Seto scored 3 points in one go. Kuramochi stole the base, and then, with the cooperation of Kaminato Ryosuke, scored the first point. Then Isashiki and Tetsuya continued to help score the second point. After Tetsuya was on base, it was Sawamura's turn, who was the fifth batter and scored the last point in this inning. In the first inning, a 3-point lead. In the second inning, after Chris hit the base, the lower line did not continue the offensive and Seto failed to score. In the third inning, the line broke out collectively. Through consecutive hits, Seto High School scored 5 points in one go. By the end of the third inning, Seto had already taken the lead. Substitution. With a victory in hand, Kataoka made a decisive substitution. The catcher Chris was replaced by Miyuki, and the pitcher was replaced by Kawakami. The two second-year battery used sharp breaking balls to give Murata's lineup 3 ups and 3 downs and completed the perfect relay. It feels so good to be able to play. Miyuki was getting crazy. In the last game, he was sitting in the rest area. He was feeling suffocated. Now, playing in addition to the catcher position, Miyuki has performed perfectly. His performance in attacking is also exceptionally powerful. He hit Seto's first home run, a 2-run home run. Because of his explosion, Seto's score in the fourth inning was also very eye-catching. 4 runs scored. By the end of the fourth inning, Seto was already in the lead by 12 points. And as if he was stimulated, Tetsuya hit a 3-run homer at the last moment to keep his reputation as the team's 4th batter and captain. Sawamura, Furuya, and even Miyuki have hit a home run. If he can't hit a home run, how can he be the young general? In the 5th inning, Seto High School scored again. Total score 0-16. Seto High School won the second victory very simply. In this game, Sawamura's attack was not very good. 4 at bat, 2 hits, and 3 RBI. For others, it's already a very good performance, but when it comes to Sawamura, it's only average. On the contrary, it was Haruchi who got a chance, got 2 at bat, with 2 hits, and scored 1 run. So far, 100% hit rate. As for Furuya, the blind cannons were misfired today, and he failed to show his power. Of course, this is not surprising to everyone. He is a blind cannon. There will always be times when he can't hit the ball. In the third round of the West Tokyo qualifier, Seto High School played against Murata East High School, and the winner is Seto High School. Seto High School successfully advanced to the next round. At the end of the 3 rounds, there are still 16 teams left to fight. After this game, the level will be improved by a whole big grade. The top 16 in West Tokyo, the one reached here has to have some level of strength. For example, Akikawa, who is likely to become Seto's opponent next. They all came to watch Seto's game, to make the investigations and judgment required. One of them is a fine-looking young man with glasses who is working on his nails while evaluating Seto's baseball. A lot of strength, but not enough finesse and depth. Seto High School, the champion of the Kano tournament, such an opponent, of course, makes people feel tricky. However, Akikawa is not without a chance to win. Thinking, he got up and left. Shunshin, do you want to go back? Yo Shunshin nodded. I'm not interested in watching Seto celebrate here. However, the lineup is really scary. The first is Kuramochi, the second is Kaminato, and the third is Isashiki. These 3 guys are already tricky enough, but they're not the scariest. The most terrifying thing is the core lineup of Seto High School. The 4th batter was Yuki, the 5th batter was Sawamura, the 6th batter was Misuko, and the 7th batter was Chris. It's going to be an exciting challenge. Yo Shunshin put the nail clippers in his pocket and left gracefully. In the face of Sidhu's toughness, Yo Shunshin was neither meek nor overconfident. He really has the confidence to challenge Sidhu. On the other hand, after Sidhu won, Coach Kataoka asked everyone to stay and watch the opponent's game together. Sidhu has already entered the top 16, and their opponents will come from the other 2 top 32 teams. The traditional strong team is Tokumiyama and the suddenly emerged dark horse Akikawa. Of these 2 teams, the winning team will be the opponent of Sidhu High School in the next game. Everyone sat together. Sawamura stared at Yo Shunshin, and his eyes became very cautious. Yo Shunshin. There are 5 players from Sawamura's generation who finally made some success for themselves in the major leagues. These 5, of course, also included Sawamura. In addition, Yo Shunshin finally made a name for himself in the big league. Even his records are not less than Narumiya Mei's. Clockwork Yo Shunshin, a pitcher who took ball control to the extreme. Of course, Shunshin's pitching is not just about ball control. Where he really excels is his concentration. This is a truly formidable opponent. 215, Chapter 15, Yo Shunshin. All the players of Sidhu High School chose to watch the match between Akikawa High School and their opponent. Because Chris hadn't retired and wasn't in the reconnaissance team, his magical little notebook was naturally gone. However, Chris still recognized Yo Shunshin's identity at a glance and provided a lot of information about Yo Shunshin. Clockwork Yo Shunshin. This is the second opponent with his own unique title among all the opponents of Sidhu High School. The anime culture in this country is very developed, so all aspects of life are full of anime-like things. No matter what sport you play, if you really have the strength, you will definitely be able to find a title that matches you. For example, playing basketball. Depending on your own body type and style, there will definitely be different titles circulating. For example, Phantom Six-Man, Little Giant, etc. The same thing can also be put on a football, tennis, or even a small bicycle. High school baseball is naturally the same. If your strength is widely recognized, you will definitely get the title that belongs to you. Speaking of which, Sidhu High School is indeed amazing. In Sidhu High School, there are 2 people who already have titles. One is the Demon King Sawamura, so it goes without saying. There is another player, Miyuki, who has now become a substitute. He is the only player in Sidhu High School who has his own title besides Sawamura. Of course, this title has to be acknowledged, and self-proclaimed is not counted. Kuramochi keeps saying that he is a baseball star with a haughty tone, just like someone saying, "I'm Messi." Unfortunately, his level is too far from the star he said, so naturally his title didn't come up. Apart from Kuramochi, Sidhu High School players seem to have their own title on the surface, but it is not acknowledged widely by everyone. There are many more. The only ones who were really recognized were Sawamura Eijun's Demon King and Miyuki Kinzuya Sidhu Savior. This is not the same as Yo Shunshin's title. Yo Shunshin's title is only known in the Tokyo area, and outside of Tokyo, Yo Shunshin's title is useless. The titles of Sawamura and Miyuki Kinzuya are more widely spread. Speaking of Miyuki's title, it is not much more valuable than Yo Shunshin's title. His contribution to the team is not even as good as Yo Shunshin. One of the main reasons why Yo Shunshin's title is not spread as widely as Miyuki's is because the 2 people are on different starting points. Even though Sidhu High School has been in decline for the past few years, they're still a top giant in the country. However, Akikawa Academy is not that famous. How big the starting point is how big your achievement is. Among high school baseball players, whether they can get into Koshien or not is an important criterion. In addition, are you the main player of the Giants? Is also an important criterion. These things, while they seem trivial, are actually very important considerations for the professional baseball scouts when they go to investigate you. If you can attract that much attention and audience while you are in high school, doesn't that mean your marketing value increases and your potential as an investment in the eyes of the professional increases? In addition to Yo Shunshin, who they will apparently fight next, among the players that Sidhu High School met before, Another player also has his own unique title. The young Ichiro from Gunma, Mima Soichiro of the Hakuryu High School. In addition to him, after Sawamura joined Seido High School this year, Yo Shunshin was the second player they met with his own unique title. Of course, in Tokyo, there is also Tokyo Prince Narumi. His title is also well known, a title of the national level. It's just that after Sawamura joined Seido High School, he hadn't officially played against him. So he can't be considered an opponent that Seido High School has already played against or is about to meet for the time being. With such an analogy, everyone can generally know the expected strength of the clockwork, Yo Shunshin. The match between Akikawa and their opponent went very smoothly. The opponent attacked first in the first inning, and under the leadership of Yo Shunshin, Akikawa easily scored 3 outs. Next, when Akikawa attacked, Akikawa took a sudden offensive and scored a point. After winning this point, Akikawa's entire momentum changed, and it felt as if they had already won. This kind of performance gave everyone from Seido High School a déjà vu. Which of the players of Seido High School is not battle-hardened? Which one is not experienced? Almost at a glance, they saw the most terrifying point in Akikawa. All the players of Akikawa have absolute trust in their ace. They believe that as long as they can score 1 point, Akikawa will win this game. Yo Shunshin will not let his opponent recover a point. The game seemed to be over by then. The score is 3 o'clock. Just as Akikawa had expected, Yo Shunshin was hit with 5 hits, but he didn't allow his opponent to score a single run. They held on to the lead, won the victory, and reached the West Tokyo round of 16. Akikawa Academy is the next opponent of Seido High School. This result was unexpected by all the players of Seido High School. They originally thought that they wouldn't encounter any really strong challenges until they met Senka High School. Unexpectedly, the development of things was completely different from their original expectations. Here comes a challenge, and it's a very strong challenge. Although Akikawa's scoring ability is not very strong, it seems that apart from Yo Shunshin, there are no decent batters. Nevertheless, this opponent is still difficult to deal with, very difficult to deal with. 3 o'clock. Such a score cannot be considered a big score on a baseball field. Even if the opponent is strong, it may be reversed at any time. However, with such a score, Akikawa Academy displayed a defense that made the opponent feel hopeless. Forget about 3 points. They couldn't even get back 1 point. The lead was only 3 points, but Akikawa had a crushing momentum. The next opponent may not be as easy to deal with as the first 2 opponents. Isashiki pouted in dissatisfaction. He already had a premonition that Akikawa would be difficult to deal with. Clockwork Yo Shunshin. Very good. Let's fight you well. Let's go. Under the leadership of Captain Yuki, the players of Seido High School stood up one by one and walked out of the field in a row. Next, they had to study the opponent they were about to encounter carefully. Sawamura slowed down, and he looked back at Yo Shunshin before leaving the field. This bastard is hiding his strength. Realizing that the people from Seido High School came to investigate, Yo Shunshin immediately changed his game-calling plan. Otherwise, with his pitching strength, let alone 5 hits, if the opponent can hit one, they can be grateful for their luck. Sawamura chatted with Chris before, saying that Maimon High School is like Akagi. In fact, that kind of statement is not correct. There is no school more like Akagi than Akikawa. For people who may be confused, Akagi is Sawamura's middle school team. 216, Chapter 16. The glasses fetish reporter Owada Akiko is a news reporter for the baseball magazine Baseball Kingdom. Today she went out for the first time with the magazine's senior reporter Fujio. Fujio-san, where are we going? Akiko was very excited. She was tall, and even if she didn't wear high heels, she was 1.75 meters tall. Now he is wearing a 7-centimeter high heel, so she can look down on Fujio, who is only about 1.6 meters tall. Fujio's full name is Fujio Mine. Seido. When Fujio shouted this word, Akiko's eyes suddenly lit up. Since taking office in Baseball Kingdom, she has made up for her high school baseball knowledge. And Seido is the team with the strongest limelight right now. They recruited the once-in-a-century super genius of the middle school softball league, Sawamura Eijun. Moreover, in the first year, he took the heavy responsibility and was promoted to the ace of the team. After Sawamura became the ace, he lived up to expectations and showed his Demon King level of abilities. In the Kanto tournament, the quiet and famous Sita High School was a blockbuster. On the other hand, Inashiro Industrial, the king of West Tokyo, also ushered in their golden age. The current Inashiro is known as the strongest Inashiro in the past 20 years. In the days before the start of Koshien, 70% of the fans in the country had their eyes on the regional qualifiers in West Tokyo. At a time like this, Fujio-san was able to interview Sidu. It really made her feel incredible. Besides, Sida's catcher is that guy, right? Thinking about it, there were two blushes on Owada Akiko's face. The car soon drove to the baseball club of Sito High School. As soon as they entered the baseball club's field, Owada was stunned. Many people, outside the net of Sidu. There were many people standing densely. In addition, many of them are holding cameras in their hands and are recording and taking pictures. Fujio-san, there are so many reporters here. Wearing high heels, Owada Akiko, who is over 1.8 meters tall, is very tall. In the face of the tall and pretty girl who suddenly came out, almost automatically, the crowd made way for Owada Akiko. Let her watch Sidu's players practice. In the bullpen, 3 pitchers and 3 catchers are doing pitching training. Furuya, who had just made a big splash recently, was doing ball control practice alone. Sita did not intend to hide these basic exercises and were so grandly displayed. Fujio-san, is that player Miyuki-kun? Behind Owada, an ordinary-looking middle-aged man appeared. He wore a newsboy cap and looked calm and unassuming. It's rare, you know Miyuki-kun. Owada had just joined the newspaper and was not a very dedicated newcomer. Fujio was still surprised that she knew about Miyuki. Of course, last year Fujio-san made a report on Miyuki-kun. I have read it many times. I am a fan of Miyuki-kun. He looks so handsome with glasses. Hearing this, Fujio rolled his eyes. Owada just likes people who wear glasses. To put it bluntly, she has a glasses fetish. Sawamura-kun and Furuya-kun are here. Why don't these reporters go for an interview? Owada's brain circuit is very strange, but even she noticed this. Fujio smiled wryly. Coach Kataoka will not allow reporters to interview. But before, didn't Fujio-san make an interview with Sawamura-kun? If there is no one who can do an interview, then it is not Fujio's article, or has he made it up? Fujio shook his head. This is the power of connection. Let's go. Sidu is just doing normal training. There is nothing to see. Saying that, Fujio left first. Owada Akiko looked unwilling. She also wanted to take a photo of Miyuki. Where are we going now? We are going to Akikawa Academy. Fujio said calmly. Superintendent Kataoka, the Demon King Sawamura, the new coach Okiai, and the fastball pitcher Furuya, who has just appeared in Shock Kanto. I have to say that Sidu is indeed rich with news. However, many people must want such news. Instead of fighting with these guys, it's better to start from the other side. Since I can't get news from Sidu, I might as well get it from Sidu's opponent. Akikawa Academy will not be as busy as Sidu. Fujio guessed right. Akikawa Academy is very leisurely, and there is not a single reporter. Akikawa's coach was very enthusiastic about their visit. Who doesn't know the power of the media yet? If Akikawa can defeat Sidu, then he will not worry about no reporter coming to Akikawa. However, what if they can't defeat Sidu? What if Akikawa became Sidu's stepping stone? What will happen to Akikawa's star player? For Yoshanshin, this player who rose with Akikawa, the coach of Akikawa warmly received Fujio. He hopes to let more people know about Yoshanshin through Fujio's report. At a time like this, Akikawa's players are also doing adaptation training. They got a pitching machine out of nowhere and crank the ball up to max speed for the players to get used to. The ball speed of 160 kilometers per hour, 100 miles per hour, is this kind of training to deal with Furuya-kun? However, Sidu has 4 pitchers, and Furuya is only one of them. Is it okay for Akikawa to do this? Owada Akiko asked in a daze. Akira Ogata, the coach of Akikawa, was taken aback by the question. This female reporter is very aggressive. Of course not all, he replied. Rather, it is impossible to throw a 160 kilometers per hour ball at the current level of high school students. Rather, it is just to get them used to the speed of the ball and also to exercise their courage. Rather, the effect of this kind of training is still good. Rather than competing forcefully with Sea-Doo, we are weaker, and we may experience all kinds of despair in the game. Rather than letting them experience it on the field, it is better to experience it now rather than letting the players experience it the first time during the match. They know how weak they are, so when they compete with Sea-Doo, they can know better what they should do. Owada nodded repeatedly. This surprised Fujio. You understand? Certainly. What did you understand? Coach Ogata's favorite word is rather. Fujio felt the black line on his forehead getting heavier and heavier. However, Akikawa's Coach Ogata doesn't seem to be simple. An absolute ace, players who knows what they can do, and a wise coach. Such a team, once they show their fighting spirit, their momentum is absolutely not to be underestimated. Even if it is Sea-Doo, they have to be careful. At the same time, Sea-Doo was also holding a meeting about Akikawa. 217, Chapter 17. The most Akagi-like team on the night of the end of the game, after the onlooker reporters dispersed. All the players of Seto High School's first string came to the conference room to participate in the discussion about Akikawa Academy. Rather than a discussion meeting, it would be more appropriate to say a tactic organizing meeting. This can also be regarded as one of the characteristics of the famous school baseball clubs. After identifying the opponent, immediately study the opponent's information and formulate corresponding tactics. If there is a gap between the two within a certain range, famous schools like Seto will also do some targeted training. In theory, Seto High School is not afraid to compete with any team other than Inashiro and Senku. Of course, Seto also has absolute confidence that they will defeat Inashiro and Senku after confronting them. It's just that the mood is different. It's like when two countries go to war, you always have to measure your own strength first, and then measure the strength of the other side. Then do an assessment and be aware of it. Nevertheless, no matter who the opponent is, in the real competition, Seto must go all out. Whether it was West Tokyo or the whole nation, Seto can now pat their chest and say they can win against any team. They have such strength and confidence now. However, it doesn't mean that you have such strength and confidence that you can be careless. If that is the case, it will be a matter of time before your imminent fall. Whatever you do, give it your all. This is the lifeline rule of Seto. The information brought back by Takashima is very comprehensive, but apart from Yoshunshin, the other players' information is not very detailed. At most, what is the batter good at? What is the defense good at? And their weaknesses? Because there was no comparison with Chris's small notebook, everyone didn't notice anything about the information that Takashima brought back. Normally, it is very rare for an ordinary giant team to bring so much information, detailed game footage, and the characteristics of the main pitcher, the batter's habits and weaknesses to sum up. Akikawa Academy is undoubtedly Yoshunshin's one-man team. The entire team, whether attacking or defending, is centered on Yoshunshin. The other players are decent, but they are really not strong, and they are very unremarkable. Compared with them, Yoshunshin is like a shining sun. The speed of the ball is 130 to 135 kilometers per hour. Although he doesn't often use the breaking ball, in order to get the number of strikes, he sometimes uses the curveball and the forkball. The most important thing to watch out for is his extremely accurate ball control. If our guess is right, his ball control is on the level of a 9-square grid, and the error range is about half a ball to a ball. If you wait for strikes near the center as before, then the most likely result is not a single ball like that will come. And don't be fooled by his corner pitch that is close to the strike zone. How to apply your own hitting skills should be the key to defeating this pitcher. Yoshunshin alone accounted for 2/3 of the information on Akikawa. It can be seen that Takashima Rei and the members of the investigation team attached great importance to Yoshunshin. After analyzing all the information, Superintendent Kataoka finally announced his tactics against Yoshunshin. The shaky swing will only increase the confidence of the opposing pitcher. No matter what kind of pitch he throws, you must do your best every time you swing the bat. This thing must not be forgotten. Also, if you want to shake this pitcher's confidence, then the key is all about mobility and accuracy. After saying that, Kataoka set his sights on the first two batters Seidu, Kaminado Ryosuke, and Kuramochi Yoichi. If it is about the mobility and accuracy offensive in Seidu, these two people must be the two should be brought to the highest level. One of them is unparalleled in mobility, and the other is as powerful as a devil in batting skills. As long as the two cooperate properly, it is not hard to win points from Yoshanshin. It doesn't need too much. With 2 or 3 points, Seido High School can secure the victory. Yes, the coach ordered. As a player, how can there be a reason not to agree? As soon as Kataoka finished speaking, all the players of Seido High School agreed. Okiai, who was watching from the side, was secretly envious. Coach Kataoka is really liked by his players. Okiai, coach, do you have anything else to add? After Kataoka ordered the tactics, he took the initiative to ask Okiai for his 2 cents. This is Kataoka, and another person with a little bit of experience would not do this. As the final decision maker, Kataoka should be the last to speak. Only in this way can we help him establish a stronger prestige. However, he is just such a person, he will say whatever he wants. He asked the school to help, and the intention of asking Okiai was to let Okiai, a coach with rich experience in Koshin, see their team's advantages and their shortcomings. As a mentor, Kataoka must feel uncomfortable for the students whom he has put his soul to cultivate, waiting to be picked on by others. This is also human nature. Nevertheless, compared to the discomfort in his heart, he hoped that Okiai could really point out the shortcomings of Seidu. He hopes that these players under his current team can go further and the road in the future can be smoother. In today's extremely egoistic society, it is a blessing to all the members of Seidu High School to meet such a dedicated mentor as Kataoka. It was because of his heart that the players from Seidu High School were willing to work for him. Hearts are changed by hearts. Okiai, who had been at Seido High School for more than 2 weeks, was not surprised that Kataoka would ask such a question. On the surface, Akiko Academy is not a very strong school. If they are judged by their comprehensive strength, if they can win 1 or 2 games in 10 games against us, they should be proud. However, this is the most important thing. For Akikawa, their mission is actually very simple. That is to make those 2 games possible. Our mission is to go all out to avoid the situation where these 2 games may happen. This way, our task is much heavier than the task of the other party. After hearing Kataoka's words, the Seidu players, who already had a clear plan in their minds, became confused one by one. Originally, they still understood the objective very well, but after being told by Okiai, they suddenly felt a bit confused. Chris and Miyuki looked at Okiai thoughtfully. Obviously, these 2 guys understood something different from others. Okiai smiled indifferently. You may not understand, so let me give an example. In the middle school softball league last year, the winning team was Akagi Middle School from Nagano Prefecture. Most of you also watched that year. Akagi Middle School smashed the finals. In fact, the rise of Akagi Middle School did not start at that time. The time can be traced back to 2 years ago when the Akagi Middle School baseball team was just established 2-18. Chapter 18. One-man team dynamic. The story that Okiai tells next is very novel for the students of Seido High School. If Okiai is talking about other people's affairs, the players of Seido High School may not be interested to hear it. However, the protagonist in Okiai's story is not someone else, but the current ace pitcher of Seidu High School, Sawamura Eijun. It is about their teammate, so the players of Seidu High School naturally listened with interest. What Okiai was talking about was the first time Akagi Middle School participated in the Nagano Prefecture competition and a match against a school called Nagano Metropolitan Middle School, the champion candidate of the competition. What is interesting is the comparison of the strengths of the 2 sides. At that time, the gap between Akagi Middle School and Nagano Metropolitan High School was even bigger than the gap between Seido High School and Akikawa Academy. The players of Akikawa Academy are not strong, but they are generally qualified high school baseball players. Although they are not better than the average high school baseball player, but not much worse. Nevertheless, what kind of team is Akagi Middle School? I saw with my own eyes the batter ran in the opposite direction after hitting a hit, that is, in the direction of the third base instead of the first. Can you imagine this? Okiai's voice was not high, but there was a firmness to it. Players of Cedo look at him with disbelief in their eyes. If they heard correctly, Okiai just said the Nagano's quarterfinals. Even if the overall strength of Nagano cannot be compared with that of a fierce battle zone like Tokyo, the team that can make it to the quarterfinals will not be so clueless about baseball, right? Thinking about it, they turned their eyes to Sawamura for verification. Sawamura's whole face was as red as a monkey's butt, hanging him on that pole, and people think it's a red light and will stop all the cars coming and going. Embarrassing, so embarrassing. Considering what his players did, Sawamura wanted to find a hole and bury himself there alive. Was he Yamaguchi or Aoi? It's been so long that Sawamura can't quite remember who it is. However, it should be Aoi, because Sawamura was very surprised with that too when it happened, because he was at third base at the time, and after seeing the ball fly out, he ran back to home base. And Aoi was running in his direction. It's hard to imagine Sawamura's mood at that time. However, he was very embarrassed right now, so he decided to use all the grappling skills he learned from Kuromochi Senpai on Aoi Rin well, so that the boy could remember it for as long as possible. Seeing Sawamura like this, other people understood that what Okiai said was true. Now, the eyes they looked at Sawamura were even more different. Could it be that Sawamura led such a baseball team to the national championship? The difference in strength is so big, but at the end of the game, it was still the baseball team of Akagi Middle School who won. Saying that, Okiai put his eyes on Sawamura. I think there is probably no other student than Sawamura who knows more about such a one-man team. I don't know from the perspective of you, the founder, core, and coach of such a team, what is the weakness of a team like that? Sawamura was even more embarrassed and wanted to find a hole in the ground to bury himself immediately. But Okiai didn't care about this and asked him out. Sawamura certainly avoided speaking of this humiliating past. Now, all the players in Cedo High School have their eyes on him, including Miyuki Senpai and Chris Shisho. Even if Sawamura wanted to escape, there was nothing he could do. In the end, under the watchful eyes of Kataoka, Okiai, and all the players of the first string of Cedo High School, Sawamura reluctantly explained Akagi's weakness. I don't know if it is the same situation as Akikawa's, but as far as Akagi is concerned, the biggest weakness is actually the core of the team. The biggest weakness is the core. Everyone's eyes looked at Sawamura in confusion. Wasn't the original Akagi Middle School built with Sawamura as the core? Sawamura should be the strongest point of the entire team. How can he be the weakness? This is not reasonable. Stinky boy, you're just talking nonsense there. Kuromochi even questioned directly with dissatisfaction. Sawamura raised his hand, telling Kuromochi to be calm. The weakest point of a one-man team, of course, is that one man. For example, if the core is a pitcher, then everything in the team will work with the pitcher as a core, everything. Whether it was pitching, fielding, containment, everything. The same for the attack. If the core is the fourth batter, the scoring will depend on the fourth batter. And every other batter will just be there to help the batter advance on bases or run home when he scores a hit. When a strong team faces that one-man team, they will see the one man as too dazzling and maybe scary, so they will focus on the weak teammates instead. And that's exactly what the one-man team wants. The players and the supervisors were surprised but continued to listen. For example, you choose the weak fielder and focus your attack on his side. The pitcher will send the ball with tricky courses to jam your swing and send the ball straight to the pitcher. Or you decide to not face the fourth batter and get the number of outs from the other weak batters, so you walk the fourth batter. And then the team will react by cooperating with the fourth batter by helping him steal bases or using a bunt for force scoring. The game will become a mouse and cat chase. And before you know it, you were behind in score and the game ended, so you lost. But if you do the opposite and target that one man, for example, if he was a pitcher, you target his prize-breaking ball and hit it off successfully and constantly, the whole defense will collapse easily. Or if he was the fourth batter and you solve him forcefully and directly, the whole attacking lineup would collapse and no one would get on base. Because the team is built on the one man as the absolute core. If he fails, the whole team fails. If you ignore him, you will fall in their tempo and lose. Sawamura's long speech made the players of Seto High School stupefied for a moment. They didn't expect that Sawamura, who was laughing and joking with them normally, would speak so complicatedly. Nevertheless, when you think about it, it's not surprising. After all, Sawamura is different from them. Sawamura can be said to be the person who has won the highest honor in the current Seto High School team, getting twice into the national competition with a public school team, and winning the championship is indeed a miracle. Not only as a player, he was also the acting coach of Akaji Middle School at the time. Everyone thinks that because the other teammates are weak, they will be easy to target. But the point is, because they are weak, they only train in the countermeasures that they will carry out when they are targeted. However, if you defeat the core, they have no idea what to do. They are not that strong anyway. Even if they see the opponent targeting the core, they are not strong enough to support him. When Sawamura finished saying those words, Oki took the opportunity. That's why you guys were able to defeat Nagano Metropolitan Middle School in the first place. Because they were thinking about targeting the other Akaji players and escaping a head-to-head confrontation with you. The opinion I want to add is very simple. The orders from Coach Kataoka are perfect. It is very difficult for Seto High School to win this game without completely defeating Yoshanshin. Even if the situation of the game encounters strong resistance, please don't forget this. 219, Chapter 19. The Ways of Two Coaches. The day before the match against Akikawa, the training at Seto High School ended early. In the words of Kataoka, this is also for everyone to conserve their physical strength. Tomorrow's game will start at 10 o'clock in the morning. After a bit of a warm-up, we will arrive at the stadium before 8:30. It seems that tomorrow will be over 30 degrees, so that those who want to practice should be reasonable and get a good sleep. After Kataoka finished his instructions, he announced that the meeting should end there. Is this the end for today? No way. There's still a game tomorrow. The players are going back one by one. Sawamura himself wanted to practice seriously. He still has plenty of energy. Furuya's whole body is already unbearably hot. He burned too much in the first two games, and now he looks like dry fruit. You better go back to rest early, Sawamura suggested. For Furuya Sakaru, who just moved to Tokyo from Hokkaido, it is indeed difficult for him to adapt to the high temperature in Tokyo. On the other hand, the third-year senior will continue to study the videos of Akikawa Academy. For them, their own strength has matured. Even if they continue to practice, it is difficult to improve in a short time. As a result, it is better for them to save their physical strength for tomorrow's game, compared with a short period of training where their strength will not grow. Studying their opponents carefully and finding their weaknesses will be more realistic for them. Tetsu, do you want to go together? Before leaving, Isashiki also invited the captain. No, the simulation practice is over, and the rest is just a practice swinging by myself. On Tetsuya's body, the aura is getting stronger and stronger. Even the teammates like Isashiki, who got along with him, looked at Yuki now and felt a little shudder. Even if he was always by his side, Isashiki could see the progress of Tetsuya. Really reliable. With a sigh of admiration, Isashiki and Masuko left. Haruchi, wait with me. Let's practice batting together. A voice suddenly came from behind them, just when Sawamura was about to invite Haruchi to do swing practice together. When he turned around, he happened to see Ryosuke with that smiling face. Sawamura immediately gave up his plan to invite Haruchi. Can he stop the bonding time between brothers? Can I really? Kaminato Haruchi himself was surprised. What are you talking about? You can hit yourself. See you later. Yes. This scene surprised several seniors in the third grade. It's strange that Ryo-san would talk to his brother. Don't say that. No matter what, they are still brothers. Coach, may I apply to use the pitching machine? There is no way to invite Kaminato Haruchi, and an idea that had been brewing for a long time appeared in Sawamura's mind. Kataoka looked at Sawamura in surprise. Do you have an idea? I want to use the new hitting form to see if I can hit the ball to 155 to 160 kilometers per hour, 96 to 100 miles per hour. What? Oda and Oki, who were with Kataoka at the time, widened their eyes in surprise and looked at Sawamura. Sawamura would have such a request. which shows that he has a strong determination. You are not small now, and your fame is gradually rising, so you should have a plan for your future. It is not easy for people to do one thing well. If you're serious about your career, then I advise you not to be too greedy. Oki couldn't help but interject. Although he is not a person who likes to nag, but Sawamura's talent is dazzling. He was happy to see such a talent and couldn't bear to bury Sawamura in high school. Although there are many talented players in Sita High School, however, Oki thinks that only 3 or 4 people can really become professional stars in the future. Not to mention the 2 talented catchers. The other 2 are Tetsuya and Sawamura. They all showed pro-level potential. Strength, mentality, performance, leadership. Star Aura, a professional-level pitcher, doesn't need too much batting power. In the current professional baseball, there are a lot of pitchers who have designated hitters. Designated hitter. In league games, a pitcher can have a designated hitter, and when it is the pitcher's turn to hit, they let the designated hitter enter the field instead of the pitcher. Because of such a rule, a strong batter is usually in the team to replace the pitcher's at-bat. Sawamura is not Furuya, and he does not have a strong batting talent. Even in Oki's view, Sawamura's ability to have the current batting strength is already very incredible. Please. Sawamura didn't say much, but pleaded. What is the reason? Kataoka asked calmly. I have encountered a bottleneck in my ball speed now. No matter how hard I try, I can't raise the ball speed to a higher level. I think it is unwise to continue to struggle with the problem of ball speed at a time like this. It is better to switch focus to another direction. Sawamura said firmly. Since it's your decision, I won't say anything more. Practice no more than 100 balls a day, and you must wear full protective equipment. Kataoka thought for a moment and said, yes. Seeing Sawamura leaving, Oki was very puzzled. Kataoka-san, I always thought you were a serious and responsible person for the players. Kataoka did not defend, but said frankly, Oki coach, through this period of contact, I also know that you are a very soft-hearted person. Just like the requirements you put on the players, you're thinking about whether they can do it and never mention what they can't do it. Yes, of course, this is very good. Nevertheless, if we are all like this, won't we limit the growth of the players? What can stop the enthusiasm of teenagers if they don't do some things themselves? How will they know if they can do it or not? Since Sawamura wants to become a strong batter, he should practice according to his own wishes. In the end, even if he can't make it, what does it matter if he takes a detour? Young people have the capability to make mistakes. Trust there are enough lessons for him to be learned from this incident, which will be of great help in his future growth. Kataoka advocates frustration education. Diamonds are not cut, but curved. Only by really experiencing hardship can players truly grow up. I see. Forgive my misunderstanding. After speaking, Kataoka nodded at Oki and left. Oki was left alone in the open space of the baseball club. Although it has been more than half a month since he came to Sita High School. Nevertheless, Oki is still very curious. What kind of place is this Sita High School? What kind of coach is Kataoka? What kind of players are the players of Sita High School? Perhaps after more than 10 years of polishing, his mindset has been formed, and it is difficult for him to understand the ideals that Kataoka said. 220, Chapter 20. 2 brothers in the team's dedicated hitting field. Sawamura asked Kanemaru to help feed the ball to the pitching machine, and then he practiced hitting. Although you're the ace of the first string, I also have to train hard, okay? Otherwise, if I keep training with you, when will I be promoted to the first string? Kanemaru is, of course, full of complaints in this regard. Wah! I called you because we are friends. Sawamura had a cheery and innocent face, and Kanemaru had an evil and bad-looking expression. Don't think about it. How many pitching machines are there in the team? During the competition, all pitching machines are specially used by the first string. When will I be able to get a turn? I won't say anything about you monopolizing a pitching machine. And there are only 2 pitching machines on the team that simulate breaking balls. Guys like you need to be content. So, what can I do to thank you? No. Who made us buddies if I don't take care of you? Who will man? Sawamura is easygoing and doesn't care about Kanemaru fishing for benefit. It's just that the expression on Kanemaru's face was very strange, and he looked like he was about to scam someone. Okay, How about this? You would do it first. We'll start at 150 kilometers per hour. In order to shut him up, Sawamura gave Kanemaru the opportunity to swing first. Really? Of course, come on, let's do it. On the batting field, Sawamura adjusted the pitching speed of the pitching machine to 150 and then put a ball in. Boom! There's a sound like a bullet popping out of the chamber, and the small white ball came to the front of the plate in the blink of an eye. Kanemaru swallowed subconsciously, facing the first ball and swinging his bat. Nevertheless, he still swung the bat late, and the small white ball went straight through his hand and hit the net behind Kanemaru. So fast. For a moment, Kanemaru felt his mouth go dry. 10 balls, Kanemaru hit 5 balls. After graduating from middle school, Kanemaru's standard is still very high. Sawamura couldn't help but nod his head secretly after seeing his batting skills. Okay, it's time for a replacement. Sawamura also played 10 balls, and he hit all 10. TSK, a ball speed of 150 kilometers per hour, is nothing special. After all, the pitching machine wasn't a pitcher, and Sawamura knew exactly where the baseball would go. So it is naturally not difficult to hit. In fact, the most difficult part of hitting this kind of super fastball is the choice of the timing of the pitch, as well as the adaptation of the eyes and mentality. Sawamura has his pro league experience, so it is not a problem for him to judge timing and adapt mentally. After overcoming these two biggest problems, the only thing that still troubles Sawamura is the break. Moreover, the pitching machine is not human after all, and it is impossible to throw with the break of pitcher. The most terrifying pitch Sawamura had ever seen in the major league was a pitch that felt like it was resisting the bat. It makes you feel like you can't hold the bat anymore. Okay, speed up. Sawamura and Kanemaru are doing a happy strike practice. At the same time, in another corner of the field, the Kaminato brothers are also doing fixed-point strike practice. Kaminato Ryosuke threw the ball, and Kaminato Haruchi was in charge of hitting the thrown ball. The two exchanged while doing strike exercises. Should you have been practicing with Sawamura during this time? Yes, there's nothing wrong with practicing with friends you know well. But during the competition, I advise you not to prepare yourself well. Kaminato Haruchi looked at his brother in confusion. In the first and second games, you got into the field and your performance is also remarkable. Now your hit rate is 100%. The coach also pays attention to this kind of performance because the coach will use players who are in good shape and give them opportunities like this play. So keep it up. Coach, he will use players in good condition. Kaminato Haruchi didn't care too much about other words, but he really listened to this sentence. I've been hitting since the beginning. Do you want to swing too? He obviously misunderstood what Ryosuke meant. No, you can keep swinging. It doesn't matter. Even if I want to make progress now, it's useless. In the next game, I just need to use the baseball skills I have learned and apply them on the field. Continue. Saying this, Ryosuke threw another ball over. Haruchi was very tired but very happy. Speaking of which, he hasn't chatted with his brother and practiced like this for a long time. Because it has been too long, Haruchi can't even remember when it started. It must have been after his older brother entered Seto High School. Kaminato Ryosuke, who entered the Seto, seemed to be a different person. It was also from that time that Haruchi began to make up his mind to come to Seto. He wanted to catch up in his brother's footsteps, stay on the same team as his brother, and enter Koshien together. This is his dream. Kaminato Ryosuke, who watched his brother swing the bat, also fell into contemplation. It's really weird. So far, there's still no greed or confusion in Haruchi's swing. This is probably the reason why he can maintain 100% hits. Keep running. I hope that when we arrive at Koshien, you can still stay on the 18 players list. Right now, the two brothers' thoughts are exactly the same. Their hearts are connected, and this kind of friendship and brotherhood continues for life. In another corner, Sawamura's bat swung on the baseball and swept the ball with difficulty. Really heavy. Because of his previous life experience, Sawamura got the opportunity to hit the 155 kilometers per hour ball. To be honest, the pitching machine is rigid after all. It's like playing a game against AI. Even if you increase the difficulty and enable other advantages, it doesn't feel like playing against a real person. For example, now, Sawamura knows when and where he should swing his bat in advance. But even so, hitting a baseball this fast is scary. Although the speed of the ball has only increased by 5 kilometers per hour, 3 miles per hour, the power of the baseball has been improved by more than one grade. It's that simple. It is still very difficult for Sawamura to hit this kind of ball accurately. Damn it. Get used to it. Get used to it. At a time like this, Sawamura forced himself to calm down and get used to the speed of the ball. Only when you get used to this ball speed and keep up with this speed can you swing your arms faster. It may help him break through the current limit. Sawamura was very dissatisfied with his performance. However, how did he know that this performance had already shocked Kanemaru, who was feeding the ball next to the pitching machine? 155 kilometers per hour fastball. Sawamura hit 8 out of 10 balls. Is this guy really a monster? Not just pitching, but also batting. The same scene did not escape the eyes of Superintendent Kataoka. He could see clearly through the glass of the supervision room. Next to Kataoka, Okiai also had an incredible look on his face. Sawamura, can he really hit it? This is so unreal. 221, Chapter 21, starting on July 23rd, the 4th round of the West Tokyo qualifiers. Half an hour before the start of the match between Seto High School and Akikawa Academy. Lines of buses lined up neatly before the Fuchu Municipal Stadium entrance. Damn it, this scene is so good. What are these for? This scene completely overwhelmed those spectators who had just come to watch the game. They had never seen such a luxurious lineup. Even if the school deliberately brought the audience over, only 3 or 4 buses, and that's it. There are more than a dozen buses like this. It is at least 1,000 people. Which school can have such money and people? Then, the door of the bus opened, and a group of people got off. The men were holding small flags with slogans written on them. Brotherhood of Red Heart. Incredible. Who would expect an ordinary high school baseball game will have such an appeal? What are you thinking? That's a fan of the Demon King, Sawamura. Aren't Sawamura's fans called the Demon King's Guard? No, not those. The Demon King's Guards occupied the stadium an hour earlier. As the crowd continued to go inside, in the stands of Fuchu Stadium, the Demon King's Guards, who occupied most of the third base side stand, had already sat there. In addition to the site they occupied, there were dozens of other people who took up a seat on the site. As soon as they saw the people from the Brotherhood of the Red Heart coming, these people immediately left and gave their place to the people of the Brotherhood of the Red Heart. Such an interaction between the two fan clubs attracted applause from the surrounding audience. They also liked Sawamura very much. And by the way, they also like these 2 fan clubs of Sawamura. It's just a pity that the 2 fan clubs don't have much communication with each other. The people who helped to occupy the seats didn't say anything, and the people from the Brotherhood of Red Heart didn't even say thank you. As if in order to maintain their own high-cold personality, the 2 sides had 0 communication throughout the whole process. From a number of people who came to Fuchu Stadium, the 2 major groups, the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's Guard, accounted for half of the total number. 80% of the remaining half of the stand came to cheer on the players of Seto High School. Although the performance of Seto High School in the past 2 years, in particular, was not very satisfactory, it is a top powerhouse in the zone, and this is very basic in the Tokyo area. Especially now, Seto High School is in a strong generation and has just won the championship of the Kanto tournament. Whether it is those who have always supported Seto or those who supported Seto in the past, they all have strong confidence in Seto High School right now. As the competition became more and more intense, more and more people came to watch Seto's matches. Now, there are thousands of them. As for the remaining 10%, they are not here to cheer Akikawa. Most of them came now because they heard that the game was very interesting, so just came to watch it. They're the most standard popcorn enjoyers. Purely in terms of the number of audience support, Akikawa has no chance of winning. Well, it hurts a bit to say that. At the same time, the bus from Seto High School also came here. The players stood in a row, waiting for instructions from their coaches. The tactics are as we said before, and never forget the signs. Yes, today's temperature is over 30 degrees, so we need to replenish water from time to time. I hope other players on the bench will support the players on the field. Yes, sir. After finishing all the details, Kataoka suddenly turned his attention to Sawamura. Sawamura is the starter today. Tampa, Furuya, and Kawakami be ready and waiting to play at any time. Yes. Sawamura agreed and took the lead. No matter how much you underestimate Akikawa Academy. In fact, everyone at Sita High School knows that Akikawa is difficult to deal with. Just in case, Kataoka directly lets Sawamura play, which is the proof. In the beginning, Akikawa Academy was not given any chance of luck. Woo! They appeared, Sidu player, Masuko, Yuki, Isashiki, Furuya, Miyuki, Chris, Kaminato. In the auditorium, the audience shouted the names of the players of Sito High School one by one. At a time like this, those who support Sawamura will not shout. If they shouted, the other players of Sita High School would not hear the sound of cheering for them. Kuramochi. The high-profile players were called out one by one. When it is time for Kuramochi, the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's guard finally moved. Sawamura. The sound that resounded throughout the stadium shook the ground. The sound of cheering for Kuramochi was directly drowned out by these huge cheers. Kuramochi looked at Sawamura with a livid face. Why you? You did it on purpose? Sawamura looked aggrieved. I didn't. You did. I didn't. On the other side of the field, the players of Akikawa Academy looked at the players of Sidu High School enviously. Man, this is so flashy. Is this cheering for an ordinary high school baseball game? There are so many people in the other side's audience. Not only are there special cheerleaders and bands, but also a huge and neat fan club. Compared with them, on the stand above Akikawa, a few people sat sparsely. These people didn't come here specifically to cheer Akikawa, but the stands on the opposite side were too crowded, so they had to choose to sit there. Forget it. Everyone is busy with extra classes during the summer vacation. My parents also told me to give up baseball early. Captain Shiratori said in distress. My family too. My parents also said that we didn't let you go to Akikawa Academy just to play baseball. Ninomiya poured the bitter water in his heart along with him. To be honest, we never thought we would play baseball so seriously. However, we have reached this point, and it is impossible to give up just when someone said to give up. West Tokyo top 16. In the fierce battle zone, such a ranking is simply for famous schools. If such a team reaches Koshien, what is the most common sentence that people in Tokyo say? Tisk, even a team like this can reach Koshien, they would not even reach our top 16 in West Tokyo. West Tokyo top 16. Although there is inevitably the pride of the public school, it can also be seen that the strength of the top 16 in West Tokyo is indeed extraordinary. These young men in Akikawa Academy never thought that they could be one of them. Entered into the big guys league, who could be compared with the contestants of Koshien. Yes, they managed to get to this place with great difficulty. How can they say they are backing down? Come on, let's enjoy this game to the fullest. 222. Chapter 22. They came prepared without sufficient psychological preparation. There is no way for you to play against Sido High School. This is the strength of Sido High School now. Akikawa is different from the two teams that played against Sido before. Seeing the supporters of the Sido and seeing the spirit of the Sido players, which was honed by long-term training, they did not flinch at all. Obviously, they are ready to fight against Sido. In the rest area of Akikawa Academy, Coach Ogata looked at Yo Shunshin and asked, "How does it feel?" Yo Shunshin took off his earphones and chuckled. "That's really good." He was talking about music. I asked about the game. Ogata continued to ask. The same feeling as before, the same shape, the same pitch. Hearing Yo Shunshin's words, all Akikawa players, including Ogata, laughed. Is there anything more reliable than this? Oh, come on. Following Ogata's order, Akikawa's players stood up one by one. Let's get out there and enjoy baseball. Yes, the players of the two teams stood opposite each other and then rushed forward like the ancient samurai. Pleased to play with you. Sido High School's match against Akikawa Academy has officially started. In the first half of the game, Akikawa Academy took the lead in attacking. Sido's starting pitcher is Ace Sawamura Eijun. In the stands, two reporters from Baseball Kingdom, Fujio Mine and Owada Akiko, also came to the scene. Akikawa was the first to attack. They should be trying to score first and then keep the advantage. Owada Akiko said worriedly. Her eyes stared at Yo Shunshin in the rest area, her eyes blurred. Fujio shook his head. I'm afraid it's not that simple. Cedar High School attaches great importance to this game. They directly dispatched their own ace, and it will not be easy for Akikawa to score points. Before Sidu went to the field to defend, Chris took the initiative to talk to Sawamura. Although the opponent's momentum does not seem to be high, but they are very tenacious and not easy to defeat. Sawamura nodded. Then let them experience despair. The orders of the coach are to avoid using any of higher level courses. If it is not necessary, it is better not to use them. There's no need for it. To deal with Akikawa, the pitching below level 2 is fine. Don't be too careless. Don't worry. Sure, I will be careful. First batter, center Ninomiya-kun. Watching Ninomiya walk into the strike zone, there was a burst of boos at the scene. Boo! On the strike zone, Ninomiya's face turned slightly pale. It's the first time he has been booed by thousands of people. It feels as if he has been abandoned by the world and become a big bad guy. As expected of a star player, there are so many fans. If Shun was also on a team like Sidu, he would have received such support, right? Despite being very nervous, despite being booed at, Ninomiya, who was standing on the strike zone, did not retreat a single step. Chris raised his eyelids in surprise. Seeing Sawamura standing on the mound, the opponent was not surprised at all, and he seemed prepared. Apparently, they guessed that Sidu's starter was Sawamura, and the corresponding countermeasures have been formulated. Huh. With a smirk in his mind, Chris gave Sawamura a sign. The opponent is Sawamura. I don't know if the countermeasures you have formulated are easy to implement. In the rest area of Akikawa Academy, Coach Ogata looked at Sawamura on the pitcher's mound and pondered. As expected, Cedar High School was so cautious, and they even sent Sawamura in the first inning. Rather, is it worthy of Cedar High School? On the bench, Yo Shunshin shook his head. The summer competition is a knockout round. No matter which team it is, if they lose a game, their summer will end. Now, it is the 4th round of the competition, and the winning team can enter the quarterfinals. Of course, Cedar High School will not be careless. On the mound, Sawamura's legs lifted up high and then fell down again. As the center of gravity shifted, the baseball in Sawamura's hand was thrown out like a shooting star. Whoosh! On the strike zone, Ninomiya looked at Sawamura, who was pitching, and felt awkward. I can't see the pitch point at all, exactly as rumored. Before the tournament, they didn't know who it was, and suddenly all the information about Sawamura was announced, including the variety of breaking balls, the strange form of pitching, the feel of the batter on the strike zone. This information was available before the summer competition. Of course, you have to collect it in advance. If you don't collect it carefully, you certainly can't know. Mayman High School hasn't even watched any of the game videos of Seto High School before, and it's even more impossible to find these materials on the internet. However, obviously, Akikawa Academy is not as careless as Mayman High School. Before the competition, they collected all the information about Seto High School in detail and formulated corresponding countermeasures. It's just collecting data, and if you actually watch Sawamura throw the ball on the spot, the feeling will still be different. From when he saw the white ball coming out to when the white ball entered his hand, it didn't even take a blink of an eye. Snap! Strike! A bead of sweat suddenly fell on Ninomiya's forehead. He was really scared like a baby. Is this the legendary Sawamura Eijun's pitching? I didn't expect the ball to be so fast from the strike zone, and it's completely different from listening to the information about his pitching. It seemed like there were a lot of amazing things happening at the same, and my mind can't keep up. Amazing and scary. Fortunately, they were mentally prepared in advance. Otherwise, it would take 2 to 3 rounds to get used to Sawamura's pitching. In the position of the catcher, Chris glanced at Ninomiya suspiciously. The first time he saw Sawamura's pitching, there was no confusion on his face. I don't know which opponent it was at the Kanto tournament who exposed the details of Sawamura's pitching to the internet. Naturally, the students of Seto High School knew about this, and they also saw this information on the internet. However, the people from Akikawa Academy were serious about this, and they actually found Sawamura's pitching information and did adaptive training. If not, the normal expression on the batter's face should be blank when facing Sawamura's ball for the first time. They have already prepared psychologically for your pitching individualities, and they have also done targeted training. You have to be very careful when dealing with such opponents. You might as well use balls to seduce them. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura nodded slightly, then pitched the ball. Whoosh! The small white ball, like a stream, passed above the plate and into Chris's open mitt. Snap! Strike! 1-2 strikes, but Chris was not too happy. With his perception, he has roughly guessed the countermeasures of a Kikuwa Academy. I see. They want to drain Sawamura's stamina. 223. Chapter 23. Slow-acting poison Sawamura Eijun is strong. This is not only clear to Seeda's own players, but also to the players of a Kikuwa Academy. Before the game, a Kikuwa Academy must have thought about a lot of countermeasures against Sawamura. It is not so easy to deal with Sawamura just with their attacking strength. So, the rest area of a Kikuwa Academy. We are in a weak position and can only use defensive counterattacks. Coach Ogata smiled humbly. It's just that there are 4 pitchers in Seeda High School. If the supervision of Seedu adopts the pitcher's relay, we will be very passive. Yo Shunshin, who was sitting on the bench, sneered, "No, I won't give Seedu a chance to make a substitution. There is no such thing as a defensive counterattack in baseball. This tactic is most commonly used in football. It refers to the weak team. In order not to fall behind, most of the players are deployed at the back of the field, leaving only 1 or 2 people in the front field, waiting for an opportunity to launch a counterattack. Use numbers to fill the gaps and strengthen the defense. Then, launched a lightning-fast counterattack. This is the meaning of defensive counterattacks. Coach Ogata moved it to the baseball field with a very clear intention. That is, to strengthen the defense force, consume Sawamura's ball count, and then wait for an opportunity to launch a counterattack. No matter how good Sawamura is, his speed and power after 100 balls can never be compared with the previous 100 balls. As long as a Kikuwa Academy can hold on to the score during this time, then they will have a chance to fight back. Although it looks a little cowardly, a team that knows what they can and can't do must have enough confidence to complete their plans once they have formulated their tactics. If they're allowed to be led by the nose, the result will be very troublesome. When the 2 armies confront each other, it is necessary to know about each other. In this regard, a Kikuwa Academy has done a good job. I just don't know if he can do it. Thinking, Chris gave Sawamura a code. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura nodded and pitched. The white ball whistled. Whoosh! Nanomiya, who was already behind by 2 strikes, did not swing the bat in the face of Sawamura's fishing ball. Snap! Ball! The baseball was rubbing the outside edge of the strike zone and flying into Chris' mitt. Chris's heart sank. To be honest, he didn't expect that a Kikuwa's batters would observe the ball path so carefully. In terms of Sawamura's pitching form, in the eyes of the batter, the speed of the ball is very fast. With such a fast ball speed, they simply don't have much time to tell the difference between a strikes and a ball. Especially this kind of corner ball is even more difficult to distinguish. It is difficult to distinguish between strikes and balls, and he is behind in count. It is said that there is no reason for the batter not to swing. But Nanomiya did not swing the bat. They can observe carefully. Chris is somewhat embarrassed, so he wants to use a specious ball to force the batter to miss the bat. I am afraid it is not easy. On the strike zone, the sweat on Nanomiya's forehead never stopped. The ball looked so fast, standing on the strike zone and watching Sawamura's pitch, because I couldn't see the starting point, I felt the ball was very fast. Fortunately, they had seen a ball with a speed of 160 kilometers per hour before. Although Sawamura's ball was fast, it didn't make him feel overwhelmed. As for Sawamura's corner ball, it is impossible to confuse the Akikawa batter. Before, they were training under the abuse of Yo Shunshin. In Akikawa, Yo Shunshin never did ordinary pitching practice. He competed with every batter in Akikawa seriously and honed his ball control through these actual battles. Where Akikawa's batters Yo Shunshin's opponent. However, in the duel with Yo Shunshin, Akikawa's batters have honed a magical ability. That is their ability to judge strikes and balls. Yo Shunshin has the ball control level of 9 square grid, and his corner pitches are much more accurate than Sawamura's. Akikawa's batters could barely distinguish Yo Shunshin's, and naturally, He could also barely distinguish Sawamura's. If it weren't for Sawamura's peculiar pitching form, which made his ball speed appear to be particularly fast, Akikawa's batters could even distinguish most of them, of course. It is impossible to tell them all. But Akikawa's batters don't need to identify all of them. As long as they identify most of them, it is enough to consume Sawamura's pitching count. In the position of the catcher, Chris looked a little cautious. The expression of the opponent's batter was getting anxious, and there were beads of sweat on his forehead. It can be seen that he is also very nervous when dealing with Sawamura. Nervous, yes, but the other party has no intention of escaping. It's more difficult than I imagined. After making a judgment, Chris let Sawamura throw 2 more balls. 1 ball in the outside corner and 1 ball in the inside corner. Ping, foul, ping, foul. Through these 2 balls, Chris has generally figured out Akikawa's attacking plan. Depending on the characteristics of Sawamura's sharp breaking of the ball and his good control of the ball, Akikawa's strategy is to choose the ball and entangle it. After knowing the other party's strategy, it is naturally easy to solve them. Bring it on. The next pitch, a straight pitch to the upper edge. On the pitcher's mound, Sawamura didn't ask any questions and pitched the ball directly. Whoosh! The white ball whizzed out. On the strike zone, Ninomiya watched the ball nervously, then held back and did not swing the bat. According to the data, the probability that this kind of ball is the weird moving ball is very high. Snap! Strike! Batter out! After tangling with 6 balls, Sawamura solved Ninomiya smoothly. Sedo's rest area. Okii frowned and looked at Akikawa's team. The opponent's strategy is very simple and straightforward, but I have to admit that it's a good tactic. They know the gap between themselves and Sawamura, and they don't have any needless thoughts. They only want to hit the ball out of bounds. This will not only improve the batter's chances, it also increases their plan's success rate as a whole. No desire is just. Once you give up hitting the ball into the field and only focus on entanglement, Akikawa's players can still entangle some balls. In the stands, Fujio looked at Akikawa's team in disbelief and at Sawamura on the pitcher's mound. Sawamura-kun's rhythm is messed up. Akiko Wada was confused and asked curiously. Whether it was playing with Hakuryu or anyone else during the Kano tournament, Sawamura usually kept the rhythm of 3 or 4 balls and scored 1 out. This batter took 6 balls. 6 balls are enough to solve 2 batters. This is obviously not Sawamura's normal rhythm. In the rest area of Akikawa Academy, Coach Ogata nodded excitedly. There is good. After watching Sawamura's game video, he was even desperate for a bit. Such a strong pitcher. How did they get point from Sawamura? It was Yo Shunshin who gave him hope. No pitcher is perfect and doesn't drop points. Demon King Sawamura, too. As long as he is human, there must be weaknesses. What Akikawa has to do is to gradually extract this weakness. This tactic, let's just call it the slow-acting poison. That's it for today. Have a nice day. 224, Chapter 24, in the middle. Strike, ping, foul, ball. The count 2 strike, 2 ball. The second batter of Akikawa Academy, Hashimoto, had tangled up with Sawamura for 4 balls. The first one, Ninomiya, took 6 balls, and the second, one Hashimoto, took 4 balls. Now, anyone familiar with Sawamura's pitching would notice that something was wrong. Sawamura's pitching count has increased significantly. In Sedo's rest area, Coach Okii caressed his goatee and glanced at Kataoka. Right now, as a coach, you should give signs to the players. However, seeing Kataoka like this, he didn't remind him at all. Could it be that you want to wait for Chris and Sawamura to come back and talk to them? This is not impossible. After all, this is the first inning. Even if Sawamura throws a few more pitches, it won't affect the overall situation. Thinking of this, Okii stopped thinking. On the field, Chris and Sawamura were relatively calm. When they should be pitching, they're still pitching. Whoosh! A small white ball like a stream flew at a low position in the outer corner. Hashimoto gritted his teeth and did not swing his bat. This ball is too far. Snap! Strike! Batter out! This pitch is a strike, not a ball like the batter thought. Through experiments, Chris has roughly estimated Akikawa's strategy for distinguishing between strikes and balls. It's very clever, but it's not without loopholes. If it follows this rhythm, Even if Sawamura keeps throwing straight balls, it is not hard for him to persevere. After all, for Akikawa's strategy to succeed, the game must be dragged on long enough. Otherwise, Akikawa will have no hope if it comes to the 5th or 7th inning and the gap between the two sides is too large. Just pitch like this, and the result may not be bad to us. With a plan in mind, Chris motioned for Sawamura to continue. Third batter, shortstop Onishikin. After 2 outs, it was the turn of Onishi, who was Akikawa's third batter. This batter's performance at the beginning was no different from the previous Ninomiya and Hashimoto. It looked like he was going to let go of the first 2 balls, wait for 2 strikes, and then tangle with Sawamura. That's not much to say. Let's score 2 strikes first. Chris and Sawamura both thought so, but they didn't expect an accident at a time like this. Just after they made up their minds, Akikawa's third batter suddenly swung. Ping. The similar rhythm before made Sawamura and Chris subconsciously think that the third player Onishi, like Ninomiya and Hashimoto, would consume Sawamura's balls as the main purpose. Unexpectedly, he suddenly attacked. This rhythm caught Sawamura and Chris by surprise. Fortunately, Sawamura's own pitching is more difficult to hit. Although Onishi hit the ball, he did not hit the ball forward. Puck. The baseball falls off the sideline. Foul. This sudden attack made Sawamura's face turn hideous. Are you kidding me? Akikawa is not playing cards according to the routine. He has cooperated with the Akikawa Act, but Akikawa is not playing their cards straight. Akikawa's rest area. Coach Ogata smiled, still very modestly. Our tactic is called defensive counterattack. Of course, we have to counterattack when there is a chance. Since it is a long-acting poison, it will naturally be effective a little late. If I don't put pressure now and then, Sawamura probably won't throw the ball at full strength before the 2 strikes. In this way, when they took a swing at random times, Sawamura naturally didn't dare to be careless with every pitch. Moreover, if they hit the ball and meet Sawamura's relaxation, then they will make a breakthrough. Akikawa can take the opportunity to get a hit. Akikawa's plan was good, but they didn't know that their actions had officially angered a terrifying creature. Sawamura is pissed. A straightforward guy like Sawamura, of course, likes straightforward confrontation. Akikawa's slyness obviously angered Sawamura. He's getting irritated. Sure show. Seeing Sawamura with a clear offensive intention, Chris is also helpless. Although it feels a little early, it is now the 4th round of the competition, and it is time to use up some cards. Unlock moving ball. Seeing Chris's code, Sawamura smiled on the pitcher's mound. He had already had enough of this uncomfortable feeling. Come on, since Akikawa wants it, he will give it to them. The count is 2 strikes and 0 balls. The batter is chased. Sawamura throws the ball. Whoosh! The white ball whistled. There is no need to judge whether this ball is a strike or a ball. The ball is in the middle, neither high nor low, perfectly in the middle. A meatball. When seeing this ball, Onishi was a little surprised. This pitcher, he has a good control, right? Although it is an easy ball in the middle, he will not pitch such an easy meatball. Could Sawamura have thrown on purpose? However, now is not the time to think about that. The most important thing is to hit the ball out of bounds. As soon as this idea came up, Onishi rejected it. Like the sharp corner ball that Sawamura pitched before, because after hitting it, it flew to the side by itself. After a little adjustment, it was not difficult to hit out of bounds. It is easy to hit such a meatball out of bounds. While it looks long, but Onishi's mind only thought for a moment. Swing. In the end, he decided to swing. No matter what, he had no reason to miss a ball in the middle. Fly out. As soon as he grits his teeth, Onishi decisively swung his batter. Ping. After the small white ball was hit, it flew right in front of Sawamura and was caught by Sawamura. Snap. Out. Solved by the pitcher. 3 outs. Offense and defense exchange. The first Ninomiya had 6 balls, the second Hashimoto had 5 balls, and the third Onishi had 3 balls. In the first inning alone, Sawamura threw a full 14 pitches. This is actually a relatively normal number for other players. It is very difficult to win an inning with 3 outs without 15 balls or 20 balls. However, for Sawamura, this number of pitches is almost enough for him to throw 2 innings. In general, Akikawa's strategy has been successful. However, no one knows if they, who completely angered Sawamura, will be able to keep it up in the attack next inning. Nice pitch. Good job. The Sea-Doo players also knew that Sawamura was being targeted. After being targeted, Sawamura can still pitch and keep his calm, which is not easy. Sure enough, with him on the mound, everyone felt at ease. We won't put all the pressure on you. Kuramochi assuredly pats Sawamura on the shoulder and said to Sawamura. Sawamura quietly avoided this dangerous creature. I hope. Hearing Sawamura's words, Kuramochi glared at him with a fierce look. The attack has begun. Before Kuramochi could trouble Sawamura, the second half of the game began. Kuramochi, as Sea-Doo's first starter, must play immediately. I will come back and settle this with you. Kuramochi gave Sawamura a small warning look and then walked into the strike zone. 225, Chapter 25, The Devil Brother Revenge. Now it's time for us to attack. Kuramochi walked to the strike zone with a smile on his face. It's up to you, Kuramochi. Use your speed to destroy their defenses. Hit it out. Hit a base. Hit a base. In the stands, fans and alumni who supported Sea-Doo, including players from the second and third strings, cheered Kuramochi excitedly. At a time like this, even they felt how extraordinary this game is. They also hope that the lineup can score points faster, so they can help Sawamura and share the pressure. As long as you take the lead and Sawamura is on the mound, then Sea-Doo will win. After that, they can enjoy the game with peace of mind. As the first batter, I really have a great responsibility. Kuramochi was not too nervous. In his opinion, although the game was a bit difficult, winning was a certainty. As for scoring, Sea-Doo will definitely score. The bat in his hand was raised high, and Kuramochi stared at Shin on the pitcher's mound. You traveled across the ocean to come here to play baseball. The spirit is really touching. However, a game is a game, and I will not hold back. Seeing Shin throw the ball, Kuramochi suddenly retracted the bat in his hand. Let this uncle take a look at your Akikawa's defense speed. He's going to bunt. Third baseman comes forward. Seeing Kuramochi's move, Akikawa's players immediately alerted their third baseman. Oh, they were expecting it. Kuramochi reversed the direction of the bat in disbelief. With a ball of more than 130 kilometers per hour, he still wants a hit, so he will hit. If third base doesn't work, then switch to first base. Ping. After Kuramochi turned the bat, he hit the small white ball, and then he flew towards the first base like a cheetah chasing prey. At the same time, Shin stepped forward quickly after he pitched the ball. Kuramochi's bunt was just in the direction of the pitcher. Shin picked up the ball and sent it to first base. Snap. Out. Kuramochi was about 5 or 6 steps away from the first base bag. Damn, the pretty bunt is gone. Shin's reaction was just one of the reasons why he didn't get to base just now. The main reason was the poor placement of Kuramochi's bunt. Why are you hitting there? That's it. Take care of who? You need someone to take care of you. Sea-Doo's players have never been less rude to Kuramochi. Tisk. Kuramochi looked pitiful. Sawamura frowned dissatisfiedly. Senpai, your bunts are very bad, Sawamura said and put on a bunt stance. It should be like this. If you want to hit the ball precisely to the first base side, you should be careful with the hips. Go away. I don't want to be lectured by you. The failure of Kuramochi's bunt did not put too much pressure on Sea-Doo, and the players always believed they would eventually come out on top. Chris and Miyuki's faces were more cautious. The two are the smartest among all the players in the Sea-Doo, and smart people usually think more. We have been well researched. Miyuki frowned. Although everyone complained about Kuramochi's bunt, there were many problems. But bunts are also one of Kuramochi's main weapons, and he's been honing them. Akikawa's players even glanced at it and knew that Kuramochi was going to bunt. This is not something that can be done simply by studying the Sea-Doo data. Kuramochi was too impulsive just now. We found that the bunt was detected. He should have retracted the bat. He was insisting on a bunt, and it was natural to be resolved. Chris said flatly. The conversation between the two was overheard by Oki-ai. Oki-ai looked at them in surprise. During the game, the players will also think for themselves. These players were trained really well by Karaoke-sen. 1 out, no one at its base. Second batter, second baseman, Kaminado-kun. Ryosuke walked to the strike zone with a smile on his face. He looked at Yo Shunshin. I came to Tokyo from Kanagawa all the way just to play baseball, and you are going as far as traveling abroad to another country. I don't know how far your hometown is from Japan. Nevertheless, it must be farther than Kanagawa, right? It is admirable to have such a spirit. However, while we still want to play with you, we can't just let you bully our Kohai like this. The previous image of Ninomiya annoying Sawamura remained in Kaminato Ryosuke's mind. This is the reason why the big devil brother, who wants to protect his younger devil brothers, is full of devilish intents to take their vengeance right now. Therefore, he is going to use the secret technique of the famous Kaminato's four-ball style. Bring it on. Strike. Ping. Foul. Ping. Foul. At first, no one felt anything until Ryosuke Kaminato hit Yo Shunshin's seventh pitch. The whole stand were boiling, especially the members of the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's Guard. Before, when they saw Akikawa's players pestering Sawamura, they got angry, thinking about how to give these Akikawa's players a lesson. Unexpectedly, the senior of their Demon King directly got the job done. That naturally made them very satisfied. Aside from the bad senpais like Kuramochi's, Sidu still has such a good senpais. At this moment, the two clubs decided to start supporting Kaminato Ryosuke. Ping. 9. For no other reason. It was because he was helping Sawamura and taking his vengeance. He is not dead, you know. XD Ping. 10. It was only 1 or 2 at first, and later became a dozen, 20, hundreds. The cheers grew louder and louder, and the heavy pressure accompanying the cheers of the fans overwhelmed Akikawa Academy. Ping. 11. Ryosuke. Ryosuke. Such cheers stunned Sidu's players. What the hell is going on with these fans of Sawamura? They never cheered on the rest of Sidu's players before. When cheering, they only called Sidu. Sawamura himself was dumbfounded. Although he has a good relationship with the Devil Brother is not the favorite senpai Sawamura played with. Compared with Kuramochi, Miyuki, Chris Shisho, Masuko, or the Captain Tetsu-san. Or the same year friends like Haruchi, Furuya, Kanemaru, Tuju, and Kariba. Kaminato Ryosuke's closeness with him is not even in the top 10. How did he get the approval of the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's Guards suddenly like that? And of course, the jealous soul Kuramochi looked at Sawamura with anger on his face. What's going on? Although he had a good relationship with Ryo-san, that didn't mean Kuramochi wouldn't be jealous. Sawamura spread his hands, indicating that he was also confused. On the field, Yo Shunshin, who was under pressure from thousands of people, did not change his face. He calmly threw the 12 pitch. It seems that Kaminato's entanglement has no effect on him. On the strike zone, Ryosuke stared at the flying baseball without blinking. It is almost on the strike zone. He let this ball go. Snap. Ball. Sure enough, this pitch is a ball. 226, Chapter 26, Clockwork Precision 12. Ryosuke. Ryosuke, with the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's Guards cheering for the battle. The momentum is naturally extraordinary. In such an atmosphere, Kaminato Ryosuke felt that his blood was starting to boil. Those fans that boy Sawamura brought with him are very pleasant. However, I can't just play because of this, keep the rhythm, pick the four balls, and hit the pitcher more. Although Yo Shunshin's pitching speed is not very fast, his rhythm is too good. If Sidu wanted to completely conquer him, he had to disrupt this guy's rhythm. Come on, how do you feel when you are so good at ball control and are forced to pitch 4 balls? 2 strikes, 2 balls. It looks like the batter is being chased, but the reality is exactly the opposite. It is not the batter who is being chased, but the pitcher. This is the 12th ball that the two sides have been entangled in. In the position of the catcher, Sekiguchi looked at Kaminato Ryosuke like he was looking at the devil. The world is really vast. Such a batter really exists. There really are players in this world who can easily distinguish between Shunshin strikes and balls. 12 balls already. By himself, the number of pitches Shunshin consumed was almost the same number of pitches they consumed in an inning. The most frightening thing is that, until now, Sekiguchi has never thought of a strategy to deal with Ryosuke. Such an opponent, how are we going to deal with him? Do we really have to walk him? This is difficult. Just when he was at a loss, Yo Shun on the pitcher's mound gave him a sign. Are you really going to do this now, Shun? When the pitcher asked for this tactic, the catcher was hesitant. But Shunshin's attitude was very firm. In that case, come on. In almost the same position, Sekiguchi prepared his mitt. On the pitcher's mound, Yo Shunshin threw the ball over. Kaminado's entire body tensed and then relaxed. Missed the zone by almost half of the ball, but it was still a ball. Snap. Ball. So far, the number of balls is 2 strikes, 3 balls, and the full count. The next ball is to decide the winner. I hope it works. Sekiguchi moved the mitt to the inside of the zone. This was clearly seen by the referee. He looked at the catcher and the pitcher on the pitching mound in disbelief. Could it be that they can pinpoint where to throw even in the sideline of the strike zone? Is there really anyone in high school today who can do such a thing? On the pitcher's mound, Yo Shunshin's movements were smooth without any stagnation. Whoosh. Such an opponent can only earn the respect of Ryosuke. After being entangled in more than a dozen balls, the opponent's spirit is still so abundant, which is really admirable. However, that's it. This pitch, although closer to the strike zone, was still a little off. It's a ball. Snap. Kaminado Ryosuke, who made the judgment, was overjoyed. Great, this is the 4-ball, forcing opponents with extremely accurate ball control to pitch 4 bad pitches. It has always been one of Kaminado Ryosuke's hobbies. Strike batter out. The smile on Kaminado Ryosuke's face has not faded. He heard an incredible thing from behind him. He looked back at the referee in amazement. Is he blind? The ball just now obviously deviates from strike zone. The referee looked ignorant. What's wrong? Ryosuke replied helplessly. Nothing. The standard for judging strikes and balls is originally the umpire's final decision. If he insists on saying that the ball just touched the strike zone, then what? I can only swallow this. 2 outs, no one on base. Seedu's players who witnessed all this. His face was hard to look at. The catcher moved his mitt just now, misleading the referee's judgment. No wonder the umpire said, "It is a strike." Shunshin really accurately threw the ball into the mitt. So, this is the clockwork precision, the horror of Yo Shunshin. Having confidence in his control, looks like some ambiguous balls will be judged as strikes. In this way, you can't even let go of corner balls. The players not only saw through the horror of Yo Shunshin, but also came up with countermeasures. Although this countermeasure looks rough, it is a countermeasure after all. Okiai caressed his goatee, and his eyes were bright. Not just 2 smart people like Chris and Miyuki. Most of Seedu's third-year players analyze their opponent's data and formulate countermeasures. Players will think and act by themselves. Such a team is very difficult as an opponent, but as one's own team, it is really reliable. Thinking about it, he looked at Yo Shunshin on the pitcher's mound. To be honest, guys like Yo Shunshin are also very tricky. The competition in West Tokyo is really fierce. In the top 16, you can even encounter a player like Yo. The game continues. With 2 outs and no one on base, it was Isashiki Jun's turn to hit. Please take care of me. When Isashiki Jun saluted, he was always respectful and polite. This kid is really polite. The referee nodded to Isashiki, indicating that he could play. Before the referee's thoughts were put down, he saw that Isashiki Jun seemed to have transformed into a different person altogether. Come on, brat. Roar Spitz. It's time for you to show off your strength. Such a change directly made the referee look stupefied. On the pitcher's mound, Yo Shunshin sneered in his mind. Dogs that bite don't bark. The louder the dog, the less likely it is to bite. Compared with the fast Kuromochi and the batting skills of Kaminato, Isashiki's performance in the collected information is really lackluster. And he's a batter who swings aggressively, whether it's a strike or a ball. Dealing with such a batter would be easy. Use a ball and seduce him to swing. For Isashiki, Akikawa had already had countermeasures. Whoosh! The small white ball, far from the strike zone, flew over from the outside corner. Hurrah! With a loud cry, Isashiki swung the bat directly. The bat swung out without even touching the ball. On the contrary, because the power of swinging the bat was too strong, he rotated a full circle before he stopped. Strike! It was a hilarious performance that made the audience laugh. Isashiki, what pride do you have left in the core lineup of Seedoo? Retire, retire. It seems sarcastic, but it's actually not very malicious. Isashiki, just like the ancient swordsman, fell to the ground in a state of exhaustion and stood up on one knee. In the stands, Owada Akiko laughed happily. I didn't expect that there are such interesting players in Seedoo. Next to her, Fujio had a strange expression on his face. What's the matter, senpai? Yokoin's rhythm has stopped. Yo Shunshin, who was originally very smooth, paused because of Isashiki Jun's comical performance. Come again, you brat. Right now, Isashiki Jun, who stood up, regained his fighting spirit. He seemed to have selectively forgotten the shameful scene just now. 227, Chapter 27, Luck. Isashiki conveniently chose to forget the comic stunt he had just done. Akiko's catcher was surprised by his actions, but he did not underestimate him because of this. Although Isashiki made a big joke of himself, just now, a batter who can play at the core of Seedoo's lineup must not be ordinary. We still need to be careful. Having said that, Sekiguchi can't help but want to laugh when he thinks of Isashiki's stunt. As the main force of a famous school, Isashiki will be a joke for a long time in the future, right? If he were in his place, he would be embarrassed for a long time. Come on, Shun. Solve him. On the pitcher's mound, Shunshin looked at Isashiki in confusion. He doesn't know if it was his delusion, but he felt that Isashiki was just swinging the bat normally, and he wasn't out of his pace at all. That swing is very sharp. Such a batter can be very scary. On the second ball, he threw the ball to the inside corner. Whoosh! The white ball whistled. Isashiki swung the bat with the same strength as before. Buzz! The bat and the small white ball passed by each other, and no one touched the other. Strike! 2 strikes, no ball. The batter was chased. After chasing Isashiki, Shunshin also resumed his rhythm and pitched a fishing ball. His fishing balls are all balls in the outside corner. Got you. Seeing that Isashiki didn't take a step forward, Sekiguchi and Shunshin were overjoyed. If you don't step toward the zone, you will never hit the outside corner ball. They didn't even think about the situation where Isashiki would not swing the bat. Isashiki has always swung the bat in normal times. Why wouldn't he swing when he's been chased? To put it mildly, at a time like this, Shunshin and Sekiguchi had already simulated in their minds the picture of Isashiki being solved. However, unfortunately, this picture did not appear. Although Isashiki Jun's feet didn't move, his body was awkwardly bent forward, and the bat in his hand was sticking out like a pole weapon. Ping! After the white ball was hit, it passed between the first and second baseman. Akiko's second baseman dived toward the ball, but he didn't touch it at all. Hurrah! With a loud roar, Isashiki took this opportunity to get on base. The first hit of Seedoo High School appeared. Moreover, their next batter is the unstoppable fourth batter Yuki Tetsuya. Not only hits, but also scoring opportunities. Sekiguchi and Shunshin were left with only a question mark on their minds. They were dumbfounded. It felt like seeing someone jump 3 meters and easily fly up to the second floor. How did he get hit? 2 outs, someone at first base. Fourth batter, first baseman, Yuki-kun. And now, it was the turn of Tetsu, the fourth batter. Seeing the Yuki Tetsuya on the strike zone, the small heart of Sekiguchi almost burst open. Do you want to walk him? From the information collected before, Yuki Tetsuya is very scary. When there is someone on the base, it is extremely dangerous to fight against him. I don't want to walk him at a time like this. Now is not the time to back down. Only by defeating all the batters in Seedoo here will we have a chance to fight back. Yo Shunshin was very tough. Okay, Yo Shunshin, the soul of the team, has already made a decision, so there is no reason not to support him. Let's do it. Hit it out, Tetsu. On the base bag, Isashiki raised his hand to cheer for Tetsuya. On the strike zone, the Tetsuya was unmoved. His eyes were fixed on Shunshin. The bat in his hand was raised high, and no part of his body was deliberately stiffened, but he was ready to go. Really scary. Sekiguchi frowned as he looked at Yuki and waited for the ball. In this stance, it felt like no matter where they pitched, he could hit. On the pitcher's mound, Shunshin's fighting spirit was very high. fighting against such a batter made him extremely thrilled. This makes people feel enthusiastic, think calmly about tactics, and set up traps. That's why I came here. Ball. Ping. Foul. 2 balls, 1 ball, 1 foul. The count is 1 strike and 1 ball. The trap has been laid, and it's time to harvest. After 2 balls, Shunshin threw the fishing ball. Whoosh! On the strike zone, the eyes of Tetsuya suddenly became bright. Buzz! Tetsuya swings, like a tornado sweeping the lands. Ping! After the white ball was hit, it flew to left field. The speed of the ball is very fast, and the place of the landing is also good. Haha! As expected of Tetsu, Isashiki laughed and started running to second base. Takada, Shunshin's eyes were full of horror, and he quickly reminded the fielder behind him. Stop it with your body. He is not expecting Takada to run 7 or 8 meters and solve the batter for him. He hoped that Takada could catch the ball after the first landing point. If the ball went through the field defense, Isashiki Jun, who started early, could even run straight back to home plate, and they would lose points first. The blow to Akikawa Academy will be devastating. Their strength is not at the same level. If there's another problem with the defense, the consequences will be unimaginable. On the outfield, as the weakest one in Akikawa Academy, Takada was about to cry. The ball was too fast. He was losing hope. Nevertheless, thinking of Shunshin and his friends, he still gritted his teeth and ran towards the ball. Even if you use your body, you have to stop the ball. Tears blurred his vision, and he fell down while running. However, fate played a small joke with Sidhu. The ball landed directly in Takada's mitt after his fall. I caught it. When Takada cried and raised his mitt, the audience exploded. Ayo, what a dash. Impossible. What kind of luck does Akikawa have? Takada held up his mitt while wiping his nose and tears with his sleeves. He was so happy, so excited. I did it. I did it. I did it for the team. The players of Akikawa were so excited, they all wanted to lift Takada up and celebrate. On the pitcher's mound, Shunshin breathed a sigh of relief and then returned his gaze to Yuki. A trace of fear flashed in his eyes. This batter is different from the rest of Sidhu. He is really strong. In Sidhu's rest area, Sawamura, Chris, Miyuki, and Kuramochi looked at each other. Today, luck is on the opposite side. Sawamura smiled wryly. If it's against other strong players, it's just a matter of being good and failing to get a hit. However, the outfielder from Akikawa can catch this. It can only be said that Sidhu is really unlucky. Faced with the Tetsuya's hit, he bravely ran forward, and that was the result, Chris said calmly. At the end of the first inning, the score between Sidhu and Akikawa is still 0-0. On offense, Sidhu was in the top 4, and only Isashiki Jun, who made a comical stunt, hit a single hit. In the first half of the second inning, Akikawa attacked. Fourth batter, pitcher, Yoken. 228, Chapter 28, The Demon King's Throne. At the beginning of the first half of the second inning, the scene immediately welcomed a thrilling duel. Akikawa Academy attacked, and Shunshin, the pitcher who suppressed Sidhu's lineup with his pitching performance, was their fourth batter. Before this game started, everyone underestimated Akikawa Academy, thinking that they would not give Sidhu enough challenge. They will be massacred by Sidhu High School, just like Maimon. Although Shunshin has the title of Clockwork, it is difficult for a contact pitcher to save the team by himself. Because if you're a contact pitcher, you will not get too many strikeouts. And when you can't get too many strikeouts, you have to rely on the team's overall defense. To put it more bluntly, Shunshin alone will not win this match. It was an overall contest between Akikawa Academy and Sidhu High School. A team is like a wall. Even if Shunshin can stand tall by himself, the other walls are fragile. Then the great flood of Sidhu comes, and the wall will be taken down in an instant. Therefore, although some professionals say that Shunshin's strength should not be underestimated, even professional baseball scouts have begun to notice him. However, no one believes that Akikawa can go far. In the eyes of the popcorn eaters, Akikawa Academy's fate is to be destroyed and become the stepping stone for Sidhu High School. Unexpectedly, when the real game is played, it is not like that at all. Under the leadership of Yo Shunshin, Akikawa Academy actually showed a very unusual strength, competing with Sidu High School, which is currently in the limelight, and they are not losing. Surprise! What a surprise! Led almost by himself, Yo Shunshin led Akikawa Academy and started a deadly fight with the famous Sidu High School. Moreover, so far, they have not fallen behind. Although there's only one inning of confrontation, you will know the book by seeing the small things. From the details revealed in the inning just now, it is not difficult to see Yo Shunshin's strength. His skills are very good. Such a player will face the Demon King, Sawamura Eijun. Just thinking about it makes him excited. Fourth batter, pitcher Yokun. When he saw Yo Shunshin standing on the strike zone, information about Akikawa flashed in Chris' mind. Yo Shunshin had always been the fifth batter in Akikawa. He played the fifth batter, of course, to better connect the line, but also wanted to reduce the pressure on him. Although he was the only good batter in Akikawa, but to hand over the two most important positions of the ace pitcher and the four batters to him, Ogata, the coach of Akikawa Academy, may still be worried in short. No matter what the reason, Yo Shunshin was at the fifth hole, but now he has adjusted his position to the fourth batter. Why would you do that? When a team suddenly changes its usual formation, there must be a reason for it. The players of Sidu High School also had some discussions when they saw the list of batters. It was easy to see that Akikawa Academy must have a plan. Just no one can guess what this plan is. Sawamura-kun, I remember when you were at Akaji Middle School, you seemed to be the ace and a fourth batter, right? Why do you want to be the fourth batter? The ace is also the fourth batter, which naturally sounds cool. However, successful teams generally do not make such arrangements. Even if their pitchers are the strongest batters, they generally do not do this. The reason is simple. It can put too much pressure on the player. As the team's ace pitcher, he takes almost half of the responsibility. Then taking the responsibility of the fourth batter is equivalent to putting all the responsibilities on one person. If the person breaks down, it is all over. Okiai suddenly asked such a question, making Sawamura quite embarrassed. However, in the end, he told the truth. Simply, it is because that's the safest scoring strategy. The position of the fourth batter is very mysterious. Sawamura placed the three batters who were most capable of hitting base in the first three holes. In this way, as long as one of the three can hit the base, Sawamura can get a hit and score easily. If the opponent is so strong that none of the three hit bases, then Sawamura is the first batter in the second inning. As a starter, Sawamura can let Aoi and the others, who are experienced with bunts, send him back to home plate as long as he can hit second base. This is another set of offensive tactics, relying on Sawamura's own powerful batting. A fourth batter position can evolve into two different attacking tactics. That's probably what Yo Shunshin planned. Okiai finally concluded. When they heard this conclusion, the faces of the players of Sidu High School changed. Is Yo Shunshin trying to become a Demon King? It's just a pity that he is not Sawamura. Moreover, Sidu is not the weak chicken like the teams in the softball league. Go ahead with the mindset to strike him out. Before entering the field, Chris suddenly said to Sawamura, "That's what I plan to do. Let's go." Chris gave Sawamura the sign for the first ball, a straight ball to the extreme inner corner. Whoosh. Strike. Yo Shunshin, who saw Sawamura's arms and pitching form for the first time, did not swing his bat. In fact, he is determined to make a hit, and it is impossible to swing without having good judgment. He must carefully search for Sawamura's information, study it carefully, and then formulate corresponding countermeasures. In the final analysis, Yo Shunshin is a guessing batter. He does not have that wild intuition. He cannot swing by instinct like Yuki Tetsuya. Use the body to adapt, use the mind to analyze, and finally draw a conclusion. This is Yo Shunshin's attacking style. This style cannot be said to be bad. Many powerful batters in Sida High School also use the same style as Yo Shunshin, such as Chris and Miyuki. It is a pity that Sawamura did not give him the opportunity to analyze anything. The second ball, the moving ball. Strike. Yo Shunshin missed the swing. Even if you have Sawamura's complete pitching information in your hand, when you face him, he can still easily solve you. Because the information you see is different from reality, and it is very, very different. The third ball, the changeup. Strike batter out. Yo Shunshin swung the bat again and failed. Very cleanly, Sawamura solved Yo Shunshin with 3 balls. The depth of Sawamura's pitching is not that easy to analyze. Moreover, there are too many weapons in Sawamura's hands. When he starts using all the weapons, you are already out. This is the might of Sawamura Eijun, the Demon King. Because of this, Sawamura was invincible on the mound until now. Only he who is invincible is worthy of the title of Demon King. 229, Chapter 29. The ever-evolving Sawamura, seeing Yo Shunshin being dealt with like this, the players of Akikawa Academy felt that the sky was falling. This is not entirely because Yo Shunshin is the absolute core and soul of Akikawa Academy, mainly because they are always together and have a clear understanding of Shunshin's strength. Shun is strong. From what they observed and saw, Shunshin is not weaker than any star player in high school. This is not only about Yo Shunshin's performance as a pitcher, but his performance in batting is also very eye-catching. Shunshin is one of the few people who can really hit Furuya's pitching head-on. Under such circumstances, Akikawa Academy, of course, had high hopes for Yo Shunshin's attack. Otherwise, they wouldn't have deliberately adjusted Yo Shunshin from the original 5th batter to the 4th batter, just hoping that Yo Shunshin would get a hit. Unexpectedly, Yo Shunshin was no match for Sawamura. Not to mention hitting the ball forward, he didn't even touch Sawamura's pitch. This huge psychological gap is too deadly for the people of Akikawa Academy. If it is said that Shunshin can't do it, will they be of any use if they go and swing on the strike zone? Different from the pessimism of the players of Akikawa Academy, in the eyes of others, whether it is the players of Seto High School or the popcorn enjoyers who have always supported Seto High School, this thing is so normal. Sawamura strikes out the opponent's strong batter. This is not news at all, okay? Moreover, Yo Shunshin is not a well-known batter. It was the first time that he was facing Sawamura. Of course, he was directly solved by Sawamura. Sawamura, Demon King, Demon King. Members from the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's Guard have always stood firm on Sawamura's side. Seeing that Sawamura struck out Yo Shunshin, although there was no fuss, they still cheered Sawamura excitedly. In the rest area of Seto High School, the substitute players also stood up one by one, applauding Sawamura. Furuya-kun, won't you go cheer for Eijun-kun? Haruchi looked at Furuya, who was sitting there alone, and asked in confusion. We are rivals. Furuya replied simply. Well, what an arrogant little boy. Miyuki also stood up, but he did not cheer for Sawamura like the others. He looked at Yo Shunshin from behind his glasses and thought. Yo Shunshin's mind is also full of helplessness when it comes to Sawamura's pitching, right? In a one-on-one confrontation, Sawamura can be said to have completely restrained Yo Shunshin. Yo Shunshin wanted to hit Sawamura's ball. He could only choose a course to swing at. However, the question is that there are many paths of Sawamura's pitching. Which one should he choose? In addition, this is the first time facing Sawamura's pitching. Even if you have already selected a course, it is difficult to hit the ball. For batters who are good at guessing and hitting, Sawamura is definitely the most difficult target to conquer. The game continues. Yo Shunshin returned to his team's rest area. I am sorry. He took off his hat and apologized for failing the trust of his teammates and oversight. Shunshin, it doesn't matter. The game has just started. Yeah, without you, we wouldn't be able to get here, and now we can only fight to the end with Seto High School. His teammates immediately comforted him. How is Sawamura-kun's pitching? Like the rumors, standing on the strike zone, the speed of the ball is terrifyingly fast. However, the real speed of the ball is actually not that fast. As long as you adapt, it is not a pitch that you cannot entangle with. The key is his breaking balls. If he used breaking balls for all the fishing balls, it would be difficult for us to hit it. Is there any countermeasure? We focus on 2 kinds of breaking balls. Let's seal his cutter and changeup. Except for the straight ball. Only choose these 2 kinds of balls to swing at. Force Sawamura to throw more of the other breaking balls. Breaking balls put a lot of pressure on the pitcher's wrists and fingers. If he uses them a lot, he can't last a game. Coach Ogata naturally has no reason to refuse Shunshin's suggestion. Moreover, he also believed in Shunshin's judgment. As long as Sawamura was not a Superman, he could not pitch the breaking ball as the core in all 9 innings. This is a prolonged battle. Everyone must believe in Shunshin and persevere. Persistence is victory. After Sawamura struck out Shunshin, Akikawa gave up their attempt to take points from Sawamura in a short period. This is also more firm, and they're determined to strengthen their defense. The game continues. 1 out, no one on base. It was the turn of Akikawa Academy's 5th batter, Shiratori. He is the most powerful batter in Akikawa after Shunshin. When Yo Shunshin was in the 5th, he was the team's 4th batter. In the face of such a batter, Sawamura was very relaxed, and his pitching seemed to be careless. Whoosh! The white ball came straight from the plate. Right in the center. The first ball is in the center. Although he was determined to consume Sawamura's pitches, Shiratori couldn't restrain his urge to swing after seeing such a sweet pitch. For any qualified batter, hitting such a ball is a temptation that cannot be refused. For the vast majority of players, it is difficult to resist this temptation. Even if they knew there might be a trap, seeing such a meatball coming, it would be hard for the batter not to take a bite. With a grunt, overcoming the confusion in his mind, Shiratori made a decisive swing at this ball. Ping! The moment the white ball was hit, Shiratori woke up. Why did he swing the bat like this? And most importantly, not only did he swing, he hit the ball high. Snap! In the pitcher's mound, Sawamura opened his mitt and caught the ball in his mitt. Out! There is no suspense, another out. It was Tsushima's turn as the 6th batter. Seeing the sight of the 5th batter Shiratori being dealt with, Tsushima became vigilant in his heart and did not rashly swing the bat. Sawamura threw the ball in the middle continuously, which seduced him to swing. Swing or endure? In his mind, the 2 little people were constantly fighting, so much so that he missed the first 2 balls and the opportunity to swing the bat. 2 strikes, 0 ball. At a time like this, he does not need to worry anymore. Just swing the bat. Ping! After the white ball was hit, it flew right in front of the shortstop. Yeah! The swift figure like a cheetah suddenly appeared, and at the first moment when the baseball rebounded, he caught the ball in his mitt and sent it to first base. Out! 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. Sawamura, who was forced by Akikawa Academy to throw more than a dozen balls in the first inning, regained his pitching rhythm in the second inning. He settled the fight with 7 balls. In the stands, Fujio, the senior reporter of Baseball Kingdom magazine, said with calm but a deep tone, Sawamura-kun became stronger. Compared with Sawamura's performance at the Kanto tournament in the spring, Sawamura's pitching is more calm now. Even if the rhythm is disturbed, he can quickly adjust it back. Actually, his rhythm was not disturbed. The professional scouts in the audience watched the scene with great interest. This level is far beyond the pitching level of high school players. Sawamura-kun is just a student who has just entered high school half a year ago. When he is in the 1st grade, what kind of level will he have in the 2nd grade and the 3rd grade? No one dares to say. Nevertheless, it is conceivable that at that time, Sawamura-kun will definitely be stronger. On the road of continuous progress, no one knows how far Sawamura can go. Thank you all for reading. 230, Chapter 30, Sawamura vs. Shunshin 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. Akikawa Academy, which was determined to consume Sawamura's stamina, failed again. Although Sawamura pitched 14 pitches in the 1st inning, in the 2nd inning, Sawamura regained his rhythm. With just 7 balls, he settled the inning. Of course, this is not what makes the players of Akikawa fearful the most. Before the match against Seido High School, they had all sorts of worse scenarios in their minds. In these scenarios, having no way to consume more of Sawamura's count is naturally one of the scenarios. Nevertheless, in their scenarios, they have no idea what Sawamura would throw in all the pitches. It's so hard to hit to outfield like this. There must be something going on with his pitching that we don't know yet. Shunshin's eyes narrowed thoughtfully. Before the game, he had a hunch that Sawamura was a very strong opponent. And when he really faced him, he knew that Sawamura was far more difficult than he imagined. I remember that in the information we collected about Sawamura-kun before, there was a record of the moving ball. Coach Ogata said, while thinking. Shunshin nodded. I have thought about it. but it is also very strange. Generally speaking, it is impossible for a pitcher with a moving ball to master so many breaking balls with a sharp course. First is because their fingers are not sensitive enough, and the other because there is no need for it. It's just that it looks like Sawamura's ball in the center is a moving, and it's very likely true. Shunshin also agreed with the analysis of Coach Ogata. Then let's try it out. Swing actively and forcefully. As long as you swing the bat thoroughly enough, you should be able to sweep the moving ball forward. Yes, Akikawa has new countermeasures, but it is still too early to implement them. They had to get 3 outs in the bottom half of the second inning first. In the second half of the second inning, Seto High School attacked. Fifth batter, pitcher, Sawamura. Sawamura had just dealt with Shunshin, and he turned around and confronted Shunshin as a batter. For Akikawa, if they can't suppress Sawamura right now, then they're not far from a complete collapse. Likewise, for Seto, this is also a good opportunity for them to completely defeat Akikawa. Sawamura, it's up to you. Hit it out. In the rest area, Seto's players cheered on Sawamura. In the stands, the cheering of the Brotherhood of Red Heart and the Demon King's guard continued. Kanemaru was also in the second-string team and stood up. Aren't you the Demon King? Now is a good time to show your demonic power. Don't let me down. Hit it out, Sawamura. Smash it out. Mizono, Tuju, and the others also shouted with the megaphones. None of this escaped Shunshin's eyes. In Seto, Sawamura has many supporters and is regarded as the most popular one. Once such a batter hits the base, the momentum caused is very frightening. Never let this guy go to base. Yo Shunshin made up his mind and gave the catcher a sign to go all out. Akikawa's catcher sank in his heart. Although every time Shunshin throws the ball, he is full of concentration and determination. However, right now, it is the first time to go all out without weighing the strength of the opponent. The catcher looked up at Sawamura. Did this guy put so much pressure on his Shunshin, so much, so that Shunshin desperately wanted to deal with him? On the strike zone, Sawamura looked calm. The bat in his hand was held high, waving slightly, as if he was ready to swing at any moment. The standing position is also very stable. The upper body is relaxed, and the lower body is like a tree rooted in the ground, motionless. It's really uncomfortable. Like Yuki, Sawamura's stance also caused very heavy psychological pressure on Akikawa's battery. Generally speaking, the catcher assigns the pitch to the pitcher based on the batter's position on the box and the batter's information and the previous situation. Through this analysis, you can determine what kind of tactical effect you want to achieve, what kind of ball you will throw, and what the batter wants to hit. You must have clear ideas about these before the ball is called. However, if the opponent is Sawamura, this general routine will not work. Whether it's Sawamura or Yuki, you can't find any fault with the positions of these two people. They just stand in the middle so impartially. It seems that as long as you pitch a strike, they can hit it. To put it bluntly, the batter stood there like a net, and this net covered the entire strike zone. No matter what kind of ball you throw, he can hit it. Moreover, from the information collected before, the two of them do have such skills. Whether it is a straight ball, a breaking ball, an inside corner ball, an outside corner ball, there's nothing they can't hit. It's terrifying. I can't even take a breath when facing Seto's lineup. Once you relax, it will surely usher in a stormy attack from the opponent. The catcher of Akikawa Academy had such a hunch. Only corner pitch, the catcher made up his mind and gave a sign to Shunshin, but Shunshin refused without hesitation. It's useless. Right now, Sawamura must have chosen one of the inner corners or the outer corners. Although Shunshin's ball speed is not fast, he controls the ball well. The space between his inner and outer corners is particularly large. At the same time, it was difficult for Sawamura batting to even cover such a large area accurately all the time. Therefore, he must select a corner to hit in advance, an inner corner or an outer corner. Once Shunshin throws the ball there, he will definitely be chased and beaten by Sawamura. I know this too, but if we don't pitch to the corners, what are we going to do to suppress Sawamura? Shunshin gave the answer to the catcher's doubts and directly threw the ball. Whoosh! Seeing the baseball suddenly flying, the expression on Sawamura's face became strange. In the middle, although he initially aimed at the ball path in the inner corner, with his batting skills, it is not impossible to change it from the inner corner to the center. Although I don't know why. Since you sent it here, then I have no reason not to hit. Hit the ball. Even with Sawamura's patience, it's hard to give up such a sweet ball. Seeing the ball flying over, there is no stagnant in his swing. Ping. After the white ball was hit, it flew high. Sawamura's face became very strange. Unexpectedly, it turned out to be a straight ball in the middle. If Sawamura guesses this ball correctly, he can hit a home run easily. With Yo Shunshin's ball speed of 130 km per hour, there is no ball power, a normal straight ball. It is not difficult for Sawamura to hit a home run. Nevertheless, unfortunately, Sawamura did not guess correctly. When he saw the ball to the center, Sawamura subconsciously thought that the opponent would definitely throw a forkball. Unexpectedly, he was fooled. Sawamura hit slow fly high and was solved out. 231. Chapter 31. Tao Baseball? A straight ball in the center solved him. Sawamura on the strike zone had the urge to vomit blood right now. So embarrassing. Thanks to his serious cheering for Kurimochi before. He didn't expect that when he was on the field, it would be so ineffective. With Sawamura out, the momentum of Sita High School was inevitably affected a little. The higher your expectation, the harder it hits you when it fails. Sawamura has always been known for his stability in the current lineup of Sita High School. Although his batting is not the strongest, they are often the safest. The on-base percentage is barely on par with Tetsu, such Sawamura was out of the play. Incredible. With a ball speed of just over 130 km per hour, is this pitcher named Yo Shunshin really that amazing? A big question mark appeared in the minds of everyone in Sidu. Sixth batter, third baseman Masuko. Masuko turned against Sawamura, who was at the end, and he patted Sawamura on the shoulder comfortingly. Don't worry about it, Sawamura-chan. You just need to concentrate on pitching well. Leave the offense to us. Sawamura nodded and returned to the rest area. At a time like this, Chris, who is the seventh batter, is also ready to play and wait for his turn. How does it feel? Before playing, Chris took the initiative to ask Sawamura for information. Although Sawamura always called him Shursho, he also regarded Sawamura as his deshi. However, in his mind, Chris recognized Sawamura's strength in not only pitching, but also his batting and his insight. Tricky and disgusting. Sawamura closed his eyes, and the ball that Shunshin had just thrown appeared in his mind. It gave me the feeling that he's definitely going to throw a forkball on that pitch, but in the end, the ball didn't drop. Therefore, the ball was hit a slow fly high. Sawamura was aiming at the forkball, and of course, it was hard to hit the straight ball. Chris nodded. To make Sawamura have such an impression, the other party is obviously a master who is proficient in psychological suggestion. I didn't expect that there are such players here. Chris looked at Shunshin solemnly, and caution flashed in his eyes. Miyuki heard it too. I really want to play against him. In Miyuki's view, such a battle of wits is a very rare challenge. Sure enough, baseball can't just be enjoyed from the bench. You have to play it. Work harder, be more positive, and let your coach see you. In Miyuki's heart, he was eager to try to the extent that he couldn't control himself. Okiai and Kataoka naturally noticed this. Okiai also gave Miyuki a special look. To be honest, if he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he couldn't believe that a catcher like Miyuki would actually sit on the bench. Sidu's inner competition is sure ruthless. How many giant teams can't hope for such a catcher to lead the team? But Sidu's talent repository is so luxurious that they can use one to make the bench warmer. Kataoka also noticed. He also knew that it would be a problem to keep Miyuki on the bench all the time. No worries. The next one are the Sanka High School. You have the experience of beating the Sanka-year high school, and I will arrange for you to play. After all, Chris has a 1-year window, and in the face of the challenge of the Sanka High School, Kataoka is more willing to believe in Miyuki. Of course, of the two, he prefers to let Chris against them. However, Miyuki has experience in playing against the Sanka High School. Ping. Masuko has a good intention, but he has not been able to exert his strength. After 2 out of bounds, he hit an outfield slow fly hit that was picked up and solved by Shiratori in the outfield of Akikawa. Out. 2 outs, no one on base. 7th, get there. Takigawa-kun. Chris came on the field, raised the bat in his hand, and stared at Yo Shunshin without blinking. Shunshin and Akikawa's catcher were heartbroken. Other Sea-Doo players' information on the internet is more detailed. Through the video, they can also analyze a lot. However, there is not much information about Chris. The videos are almost all footage of him showing off his prowess. As for the weakness, not revealed at all. Almost nothing. It's hard to imagine how Sita High School would promote such a player to be the main catcher. In contrast, Miyuki, who was sitting in the rest area, was more difficult to deal with. Thinking about it, Shunshin gave the catcher a sign. Chris watched Shunshin's movements without blinking and then changed his grip. The grip has changed. Seeing Chris' actions, it was difficult for the catcher to hide his shock, and he quickly reported the news to Shunshin. Shunshin's heart sank. Looks like Chris was deciphering their signs. In this case, he changed the sign again. Chris then changed his position on the box. Seeing Chris's action, Shunshin stopped moving. On the strike zone, Chris's mind was calculating. Here we go. Did he guess my purpose wrong? Or did he guess it right? Or did the pitcher do this on purpose to confuse me? No matter what, the ball has to be hit. Whoosh! Yo Shunshin pitched the ball, and Chris swung decisively. Buzz! The bat moved past the baseball without touching the ball. Snap! Strike! Chris looked shocked. On the mound, Yo Shunshin smirked in his mind. Fish hooked. Then the next ball will solve you. Whoosh! The small white ball, like a laser beam, was flying straight above the home plate. Chris, who had a shocked expression on his face, suddenly returned to normal. Aimed for the inside corner and swung the bat decisively. Ping! The white ball was hit and passed through Akikawa's infield defense, forming a long hit. Chris took the opportunity to run to first base. On the pitcher's mound, Shunshin's expression was filled with shock that could not be dispelled. He guessed it. In Sea-Doo's rest area, Miyuki shook his head with emotion. As expected of Chris Senpai, since he used his way to solve others, he used psychological hints to force Yo to make an inside corner ball. Sawamura himself is confused, never less the other. What do you mean? In the confrontation between the pitcher and the batter, the pitcher can use signs, expressions, movements, and actions to give psychological cues to the batter, telling the batter how he intends to pitch the ball. Similarly, the batter can also use his own stance, grip, and position, expression, actions to indicate the actions that he is going to take. Although all these are very subtle, masters of insight into details can use these insights to understand the opponent's plan. The real strength of Yo Shunshin lies in his dedicated mind. And because of that, he can make sure every pitch goes where he wants to. Sawamura also has more than 10 years of baseball experience. This is the first time he has heard of these things, Miyuki said. Yep, that is the first time he heard about this. After entering the major league, Sawamura's understanding was that everyone seemed to be mostly going straight, not so many twists and turns. After all, is there any bigger baseball culture outside of the major league? Why does Sawamura still feel that he and Miyuki, Chris, are not playing the same sport? There is still a difference between professional baseball in Japan and professional baseball in Major League. Before going back to the past, Sawamura entered the Major League directly after graduating from high school and really lacked an opportunity to fully experience Yakudo, Japan's Tao of baseball. In the Eastern world, especially in this country, anything can be improved by the philosophy of Tao. It is not supernatural, but more cultural Sado. Way of tea, art of tea, tea ceremony, kendo. Way of sword, art of sword, swordsmanship, kyudo. Way of bow, art of archery, archery, shodo. Way of calligraphy, art of writing, calligraphy. It is something in Japanese culture of taking things to the master level through techniques and fineness, so anything can have a Tao. It is not just Japan, it is in all Eastern countries. Baseball has flourished in Japan for more than 100 years, and the unique culture extended is very different from the place that advocates freedom and full force clash like in the major leagues. Tao. Taoism is something universal in Eastern countries, and it heavily exists in culture and fiction and literally translates as the road, the way, the path, etc. 232. Chapter 32. Until you're satisfied. 2 outs, runner at first base. Seto High's second hit came, and the batter was Chris. On the pitcher mound of Akikawa, Shunshin wiped the sweat from his forehead. Although he lost a hit, his heart was delighted. This is how the game should be. Each of the opponent's batters is terribly powerful and has his own skills. You must maintain a sense of tension all the time, otherwise, if you are not careful, it may be your end. I crossed the ocean and came here for this. This is the baseball I wanted to play. In the process of leading the rise of Akikawa Academy, Shin and the others also played against many teams. He faced many teams, whether it was an official or practice game. Tokyo is such a great place where you can always find a variety of opponents. It's just because Akikawa Academy's previous reputation was so mediocre that they never had the chance to play against famous high schools. Moreover, Shin has never found the baseball game that haunted him in his dream. He thought maybe he would find it if he went to a higher stage. It was with this belief that he brought his friends from Akikawa Academy to work hard together. He hopes to go to Koshien to see if there is what he has been looking for. However, while doing so, Akikawa Academy faced Seto High School, the strongest team they have encountered so far. They're also the only famous powerhouse they have encountered so far. From this team, Shin clearly felt the difference. Seto has what he has been looking for, a pure, delicate, and deeper baseball. Every cell in the body is cheering happily. Shin was as free as he was roaming in the ocean. Eighth batter, outfielder, Shiratsukin. On the pitcher mound, Shin's state at the moment is amazing. His mind was extremely clear, and the information about Shiratsu flashed through his mind in an instant. Although Shiratsu was the most inconspicuous batter in the first string of Seto's lineup, nevertheless, his strength is not weak, and his all-round batting skills are terrifying. When Sawamura is playing in the lower line, the two often form a counter-attacking link in the lower line, and their scoring ability is not bad at all. However, such a batter also has his flaws. It is precisely because of his comprehensive batting skills that his batting tactics are not difficult to guess. As long as you judge the situation on the field, he will bat in according to what is most beneficial to Seto. 2 outs, runner at first base. The ninth batter behind him is the ordinary Sakai. Now, what Shiratsu wants to do most is to win the long hit. Then I will fulfill your wish. Whoosh! A sharp inside corner ball came whistling. Shiratsu on the strike zone swung the bat decisively. With his strength, outside corner balls can't be hit long. A ball that can hit a long hit is the inside corner or the center. With Shunshin's ball control, it is impossible to expect to hit a center ball. Therefore, Shiratsu aimed at the ball path of the inner corner from the beginning. Now that he saw the inside corner ball coming, Shiratsu decisively swung his bat. Ping! The white ball was hit and bounced to the third base. Akikawa's third baseman caught it and passed to first base. Out. 3 outs, offense and defense exchange. Although Chris hit a hit, Seto's situation was not as optimistic as he imagined. In the stands, the words of Fujio, the senior reporter from the baseball kingdom, can best explain the problem. Today's Shunshin gives the feeling that it's hard to imagine that someone can take consecutive hits from his hands. In Seto's rest area, Kataoka, Okii, Miyuki, Chris, the faces of the 4 think tanks are very ugly. The opponent was Akikawa, and Seto didn't want to expose too much. Now it seems that if they do not adopt some means, it will be difficult to win the opponent. If this goes on, the momentum of Akikawa will only get stronger and stronger. Chris frowned. We must get the score. With that said, Kataoka turned to look at Sawamura. Next inning, try to bring despair to your opponent. Try to strike out all of the batters when you face them. The prelude to the attack needs to start from the pitching. Let Sawamura tell Akikawa's players how desperate their future is. Then look for an opportunity to launch a counterattack.
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. R18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the Free Novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.